right.
Hey,
We're
buddy.
live. We did it. How you doing?
Good.
This feels like old times.
Dude. It's been a while, man. Welcome
know.
back. Welcome
I
back
know.
to everybody in the chat too.
We're so back. I have to check the chat to make sure the sound is on, as is now
Please,
customary on this podcast.
Man, we have a new setup tonight. Just the two of us. We went into new seats, and this camera switcher is like far away from me. It's difficult.
Yeah, it's beautiful. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Alfalfa Podcast. This is a bit of a different episode since only half of the cast is here. No Armand, no Nick tonight.
Miss you guys.
Got, Eric Johansson across from me. I'm your co-host tonight, Steven Cesaro. And we're going to talk a lot of money today. It's never been a better time.
God, what a good time to talk money. You
Dad
guys.
is away.
What a beautiful time to talk money.
This is the first Alfalfa Pod episode ever after, what is this, 219 episodes? This is the first episode ever, I'm declaring it, that has been in a bull market alt season.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Yes. It's so fun.
Like 219
It's
weeks.
so
Like, how
fun.
did we do that?
Damn.
That is a long time. I guess it wasn't 219 weeks because we used to rip out 3 of these things a week back when
Right.
I didn't have any trading to do because everything was dying.
Damn, think of the hat tip to the audience for sticking around through like meager times.
Yeah, it feels really good to see people winning in the Discord. And people are winning bigly.
I actually want to hear people post their wins. Like,
I've seen multiple people be like, thank you, I'm a blank coin millionaire now.
Dude.
There are people crushing. Our Discord, by the way, we have this Gem Hunters channel in the Discord. And this channel is like the best place on the internet. It is, first of all, free for some reason. And second of all, like, people have found everything in here. Like, we gave you like, so I forgot who found Chill Guy. A Chill Guy at like 1.5 million. People made so much money on that.
Yeah.
Like, every AI coin you can think of, we found it in there. AI XBT. I was the first one to mention that one. I'm just throwing that out there.
Hey.
Timestamp that one.
Hey, give
Yep.
him his plaudits. He
I
deserves it.
min bought it, unfortunately, so my 29x or whatever it is.
Well, you
right
deserve
now
you
is
deserve your roses, my friend.
Not quite, but no, I don't do too much work in that channel. We got like kind of like a group effort going on in there, but they are in the trenches, digging through the memes, digging through the low caps, and winning.
So, friend of the pod, Brendan, who's just off screen right now, was saying that he's a part of like paid groups and stuff, and that this Gem Hunters channel that you're mentioning is like as good, if not better, than all the paid groups he's in.
Yeah, and I'm hesitant to even promote it because I feel like we've cultivated such a good community. Because you only know about this thing like if you've really been through the ringer.
Yeah, it's a deep cut
with us. I feel like this is going to be a bull market problem we're going to have at some point. Like, all these people are going to start rolling in. Like, how do you do?
Sir, I would hope so. It doesn't seem like it has been.
No, the numbers have been creeping up.
Yeah.
They're creeping up. I mean, we don't actually like promote the Discord all that much other than the pod, you know? So
maybe we should. Maybe the Discord is like the best part about our pod. I actually think it is.
You know, it's a great part. I don't know if it's the best part. It might be. The community is the best part for sure, and the community is the Discord. So I'm gonna say you're correct.
Yeah.
We got a good thing going on there. Anyway, got a lot lined up for you today. It's been a crazy freaking week, crazy 2 weeks, I guess, because we took some time off to eat some turkey last week. But I got to go through all the ABCs here.
Oh yeah, do the ABCs.
Do the laundry list. If you are watching this live, hit that like button. If you are listening to it after the fact, please give us a like. Please subscribe if you are not subscribed, and check out all links, alfalfapod.com. Give us a follow on the Twitters. I'm at 0x Magic Lines. If you like charts, although my charts are better in the Magic Lines channel in the Discord. Before we get into the Alfalfa, a quick thank you to our sponsor, ZBiotics. As you guys know, we love the ZBiotics. They've been with us for a while now.
Yeah, baby.
Helping us have a better day after a night out of drinking for many, many months now. This is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic by GigaBrain PhD microbiologist.
God, he's so smart.
Yeah, when you may not know this, but when you get hungover, it is not because you're dehydrated or whatever random crap people say. It is because of a little compound called acetaldehyde.
Acetaldehyde.
That's right. Say it with me, baby. When token. When acetaldehyde token. Anyway, ZBiotics breaks down this nasty thing in your stomach so that when you drink, it does not get into your bloodstream and make you feel all wacky the next day. If you want to try it out, zbiotics.com/alfalfa. I go through 3 or 4 of these a week.
Good for you, buddy.
I'm addicted to them. Been a lot of drinking lately for me. I went to Napa last week.
Oh, you did?
When we were off. Took the
Awesome.
girlfriend there for the first time.
Any alfalfa from Napa that you want to share? Is Del Dado up there? That's like one of your favorite picks?
Yeah, we went there. So every time I go to Del Dado, for some reason, the founder of David Del Dado, who, by the way, I just realized was like he's like an 80s real estate like infomercial mogul. And you can find like videos of this guy on a boat doing like cheesy shit when they did like the infomercials.
Does he still
in
talk
the
like
80s.
that? Like when he's talking about his wines? Does he still like have that voice?
No. But like he was on one. So we went to they opened up this new winery, and they had this like he's like over the top, like imported all the marble from Italy, got a Fiorenzo architect to design the whole thing.
So it's a gorgeous venue.
It's a nice venue, and they got this bridge that goes, and then there's like this wine cave, and it's like this Greek god type figure with an open mouth that you walk through, and it's designed in his image.
Whoa.
Basically. But there was a bridge there, and then, so we start the tour, and he comes along with us, and he's like, you guys are going to be the first people to ever walk across this bridge. And I was like, hell yeah.
No way.
Hell yeah. So we walk across the bridge, we go into the caves, and this is a fun wine tour because you just drink straight from the barrel, and they give you like good stuff. Like we were just pounding $350 bottle of wines like from the barrel.
Yeah.
And because he was there, they were just even opening up like all the crazy stuff, and we got so drunk. And this guy is just going, he's telling me about how wine is not only not harmful for you. He said it is medicine. Quote. Told me about how his grandpappy drank 5 bottles a day. And
5 bottles a day.
And he strives for, I think, 3.
5 bottles? Well, we've had this discussion in the Discord. I don't mean we. I mean like the collective we. Our community's had this discussion in the Discord about how food is medicine. Wine is like a component of that.
It is weird because you see a lot of these Napa Valley kind of wine founder guys, like a lot of them live to be like 95, 98. Like these guys are not dropping dead at 65 as best I can tell. Like they're living.
That's interesting point. Like, people will say it's anecdotal, but like I think there's something to that.
Anyway, I got hammered. I got taken advantage of very badly in the wine purchasing.
Do you think like is Del Dado something you can buy just like at like Bevmo, or do you have to go to Napa?
You gotta go there or be a member of the wine club. I think there's some sites online that resell them.
That's brutal.
It's good. It's like kind of quintessential like big bad Napa cab, kind of that juicy big stuff. I like it.
Okay.
I'll give him a plug.
Nice share.
Yeah, I went to Alpha Omega 2, which is a pretty sweet winery. I hit a bunch of stuff up. It was a great trip. The main alpha, I guess, on Napa is that Napa this time of year is like incredible. It is like crisp fall air, colorful leaves. There's nobody there, so you can kind of just walk around, and it's not like crowded. You can get reservations everywhere, and it just feels so nice. And it made me want to do Christmas in Napa. And I think I'm going to do Christmas in Napa.
Take it easy,
at
bud.
one of these points. Well, not necessarily this year, but like Christmas in Napa is the thing I wanted to do. It was cool. You're at all these wineries. They got the Christmas tree up and the decorations, the fire going. It's so cozy.
It's a bull market, dude. Think bigger. Let's go to France. Let's go to France.
I just went to France.
Let's go again.
I like where your head's at. Yeah, it has been a bull market. It's been crazy. I was able to take a few days off to go on vacation. Of course, the market dumped for a little bit while I was gone.
Yeah, you took a flight, man. You got to tell people.
Yeah, no, I did tell people. They were warned for sure. But yeah, oh my god, I got so much to catch up on. I mean, Bitcoin's kind of been doing nothing since we last recorded. I think
Taking a little
It's been
breather.
going sideways, taking a
Yeah.
breather. But that's like ideal conditions. Like the best thing that could have possibly happened was that Bitcoin didn't blow past 100K and just kind of light rejected and just chilled below it.
Why do you
went
think
sideways.
that's the best thing that could have happened?
Because if Bitcoin blasts through 100K, like all of the attention and all of the liquidity gets sucked by Bitcoin and everybody's on Bitcoin, right? And if Bitcoin hard rejects and dumps, then everybody's like panic selling all of the alts, right? But if Bitcoin kind of bumps and then chills for a little bit, then people are like, "Oh yeah, baby, it's on." And then
And then what else?
go
What
out
else
the
can we
risk
do?
curve, and then the party starts. So I think it's interesting to kind of take a step back and think about like what we sort of thought. Well, I guess there's kind of like what common consensus thought was going to happen this cycle, and then like what we thought was going to happen, and then what has actually happened so far.
Yeah, this is gonna be good.
So I think that we've been pretty on point with like most stuff because we were very bullish on Trump. There were some people who said that Bitcoin was going to sell off after Trump won because like it was being used as like an election hedge.
I think you're speaking only of Adam Cochran, who you have like a vendetta against.
No, it wasn't just Adam who like is the worst trader of all time. But
We haven't heard much from him lately, by the way.
He's just like a rogue YouTube niche nerd production thing as well. I could like when Joe like pardoned Hunter the other day. I was like, oh my god. I remember having an argument with him over the summer where he's like, he's not gonna pardon him. It's just anyway.
yeah,
I digress. Don't get me off that.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so I kind of like the Giver. I think he's a great.
You've mentioned The Giver
Yeah, he
before.
offers like very unique perspective. He was pretty bearish Bitcoin on a Trump victory because he thought it was going to be used. It was being used as this sort of like Trump proxy, and that trade would like sort of unwind, I guess. But that obviously was not the case, and everything turbo ripped. Right, it was very hard to not make money immediately after the election. But then stuff kind of settled down, and we saw some horses coming out. We're like, wait a minute.
Some horses that we did not expect.
Where'd this horse come from? So a couple things happened that we did expect. Like we've been pretty bullish on AI. I think we talked about virtual on this podcast like a while ago. It's up probably like 600%, or it was at last week at one point.
Nice
It
call,
touched
sir.
like $2. So that was pretty sick. Pretty bullish on like Athena and kind of Ethereum like utility plays and like Athena, Lido, Uniswap, like all this stuff has been like absolutely ripping. I'm less long Lido than I was before because I grew impatient and bought other stuff, which also went up.
Did Lido end up sort of doing what you expected? Just took a little longer.
Yeah, it turbo ripped last week or two.
Good,
so
because I still have some.
congrats
And
to everybody with the patience. To
well, I
sit in
wonder
those,
if I'm even like at break even because I bought it a long time ago.
those spot buys. Yeah, I mean, a notable turn in recent days, weeks has been sort of like the relative weakness of Solana versus Ethereum.
Yeah,
And-
that's a little weird, right? Because like Solana, we were expecting to be like higher beta and to outperform because like more people are using it, particularly with like the meme coin trades.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been lagging a little bit.
Yeah, so Sol ETH has been like a very bullish kind of pair, right? You look at the Sol ETH ratio and it tells you, do I want to own Sol or do I want to own ETH, or maybe do I want to own more of this or more of that? It's been just sort of like an up only chart for well over a year at this point.
Yeah.
But at the last week's close, I posted some weakness in that chart.
Seems like a good time to pull up the chart if you want to. I mean, you don't have
Yeah,
to.
I don't really have it loaded.
Okay.
try to minimize the.
There's more of
the
a
charting.
there's more of a conversation today.
Yeah, like we don't need charts for this. But the TLDR was that definitely short-term weakness in that chart, and I think it's interesting to think about why that may have happened. Whenever narratives get like mega consensus, like my little antenna always kind of goes off a little bit.
Yeah, well, it seemed like the consensus of crypto Twitter, at least, was like very Sol heavy.
It's like basically like Solana good, Ethereum bad. Everybody's just gonna come in here and trade memes, financial nihilism. Solana wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a good part of the reason Solana has struggled is, well, there's two things. One, from like a price action perspective, it did like kind of swing fail its all-time high, pretty key level. I think expecting a pullback there is kind of normal, to be honest. So I'm not even like full red alarm on Solana yet.
Yeah, you're not ready to like call it a loser yet.
Yeah. But I do think like the wind has gotten sucked out of a lot of the Solana meme sales, and it gets sucked out very heavily by AI coins, and a lot of that came via virtuals and base season. And I just think a lot of attention just moved over because this AI narrative has been like really, really exciting.
Has the AI narrative in your mind been like the trade of the season, or was the trade of the season like the Dino coins?
So there's been a few trades that have been good, right? Like if you longed AI, you're crushing. If you longed like Ethereum utility and the renaissance of utility tokens, right, you're crushing pretty good. And if you longed Dino coins, like you crushed like in a very short period of time. Like XRP went up like some.
So what are
insane
like
multiple.
what are some of these, like Ripple, Cardano, Stellar Lumens, like?
Yeah, Cardano I almost feel like isn't even that dino-y. It's just always been around, like just hanging out of the party. People are looking at it being like, why are you still here, Charles?
Right.
But some of these things, like when was the last time you heard somebody talk about IOTA?
It's,
Or today,
yeah,
like I
it's
woke
ages.
up and Tom Nam was like, "Oh, my like Nano bag is pumping," and I was like, "Oh my god, Nano!"
I think that's even before
I
my
remember
time.
getting hacked. I remember getting my exchange account hacked on this coin. Like, yeah,
I
this is
don't remember any of this
2017.
shit. It's before me.
And I checked the chart, and I was like, "Oh fuck yeah, this thing looks great." And I just
Wait, so
bought
you
a
just
bunch of
you just
Nano.
bought some of this Dino for reasons equals Dino?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was one of the few people who caught this XRP trade, which has been amazing. Like, just
Well, you're one of the few people that we consider like crypto savvy. Like I was getting texts from my fucking uncle who was like, "Hey, I really like this Ripple token." And I was like, "It's toilet paper, dude." And now he's up, like 10x on it. So you're not one of the few people. You're one of the few like serious people, I think.
yeah. Well, there's this great quote. I think it's by John Woo. He's talking about coins like Ripple. He's like the problem with these coins is that you have to be stupid enough to buy them, but then also smart enough to sell them.
Oh, that's good.
And that to me just encapsulates so much of everything that's going on here. And it's like you get into crypto and you're just so stupid, right? And you actually often like buy stuff that's really pumpy because you're so dumb. But then you just round trip everything and you get scammed, everything goes to zero. And then you kind of maybe some people just stay dumb and they just leave and maybe they come back and keep being dumb. But then some people hang around and they get kind of like in it for the tech. And then they get like quote unquote smart. And this is where you get into like mid-curve land.
Do you think this only applies, this sage wisdom only applies to like altcoins? Because I feel like Bitcoiners, for instance, would just say like never sell. And I think that's pretty sound as well.
I mean, Bitcoin's different. Bitcoin is also kind of like in and of itself like a bell curve because I feel like very gigabrain people love Bitcoin, but then like I feel like a lot of the quote unquote hodlers are just kind of like cavemen people who don't think a lot and they just happen to outsource all of their thinking to the gigabrain people.
Yeah, but
and then it kind of works because there's
Yeah.
like also just this genius / uber simplicity to it.
Yeah.
And
well,
so
I
it
guess like
persists.
in that sense is like Ethereum then like the mid curve, where like Bitcoin is like the gigabrain. And
No,
also
in
far
the
left.
words of Armand, Ethereum definitely became like the essence of the mid-curve coin.
Yeah, right. But we'll show them. We'll show
sure.
them soon.
So a lot of the last like 2-3 years of my life has been trying to figure out like how can I remain smart but also be really fucking dumb.
So it's sort of like a bell curve. Or no, not a bell curve, like a barbell.
Yeah, but I think a lot of it isn't necessarily about being dumb. It's about like trying to remove yourself from like attachments in a particular way. And I think especially in crypto, you get like attached to things. You get attached to communities, or you get attached to like ideas. Like a lot of people who I think are like very smart got like very sucked into the idea of Ethereum, which I think is a good idea, but they got sucked into it sort of at like the worst possible time. And so they sort of like, you came into Ethereum like in the peak of last bull market, like you basically bought the top of it on like a ratio basis to everything else in crypto, especially on like a risk adjusted basis, I would say. And so that was kind of like a hard drawdown to eat. And you're into the idea, you're into the community, all this stuff is great, but like this doesn't translate into like number go up. And I think most people want number go up.
Well, that brings me to a question: is like some of this stuff. I'm wondering like what in the F in your mind makes number go up? Because like I'm looking at things like there's been an ETF for Ethereum, and we're seeing like positive ETF flows on like a pretty consistent basis now, at least in like very recent times. And what numbers going up for fucking Ripple? So like what causes number to go up? Because I don't feel like Ripple just has like an insane amount of buying demand naturally.
I think it does, though. I think there's like two things to actually there's more than two things to talk about with Ripple. Let's talk about like why Ripple went up. Like why does anything go up? Like things go up because buyers outnumber sellers.
Yep.
And things go up sustainably if like a critical mass of like large players have accumulated just massive amounts of positions, right? And then price sort of needs to go up, and then depending on how big those positions are, price needs to go way up, and then these people need like time to sort of unload said positions, right? Stuff also goes up when it's under owned and people have to panic into it. Stuff goes up when the mind share of it is just very, 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 very high. So I think Ripple was like a good intersection of all of these things. It's been going sideways for like 7 years, right? Just in the most incredible
So I guess in that
base
sense,
of all time.
when you have like that really long base, it like really spring loads the up action.
Yeah, for sure. Because everybody's sold, right? At a certain point, everybody's sold. It's just basing for 7 years. It's not going to go any lower, right? It's just people buying positions that whole time.
I think it was like the ultimate Gensler trade. Like once Gensler was out, like that just kind of like removed that anvil overhead.
Yeah, like, and if you think about why we wanted to go long stuff like Uniswap, right? Well, like Ripple is a much better pure expression of that trade.
Totally.
In Uniswap, you're still being like tied into the Ethereum mindset. Like, oh, I just like really want this world and ecosystem that I love to succeed, so I'll buy this coin. And although Uniswap's gone up a lot, I'm pretty sure it's like outperformed ETH by a lot. It has not gone up as much as XRP, which is like the ultimate regulatory kingpin.
Yeah.
As far as that final boss kind of goes, right? People also forget that like crypto Twitter is not real life. Like crypto Twitter is, what is it? It's got to be like less than 1% of all the people who own crypto. Like
swear,
maybe
like,
even less than like 1/10%. It's just such
like
a small number.
for the people who actually post on there, because most people are like readers of it, like I am. I think the people who actually post, there's probably like a handful of thousands of folks on there that are actually sharing ideas.
Yeah.
And that's so small.
And so you develop this sort of like false bubble about like what crypto is and who's buying it and what's a good coin and what's a bad coin. And you sort of live in your own little echo chamber. And even though crypto Twitter itself has these little bubbles, you get your nihilist bubble and maybe your like techno idealist bubble and like your artist bubble or whatever bubbles, right? They're just bubbles within like a larger bubble that exists within this whole world of people who buy crypto. Like XRP is like the ultimate normie coin. And one of the reasons it is because like like coins like Ripple, coins like Cardano, like they didn't put their money into like KOLs on
Twitter.
On crypto Twitter. Like they just dumped it into freaking like YouTube people. Like and like that's why like XRP and Cardano, they're like all over YouTube and and TikTok because they dumped all of the money there.
Well, I think TikTok is its own phenomenon, right? Like I think TikTok has like sort of taken off as its own sort of like crypto Twitter ecosystem. You know, like crypto Twitter is its own, but then TikTok has its own and its own beloved names. And I don't even use TikTok, and I barely use crypto Twitter, but I kind of like see these things bifurcating.
Yeah. And there's like, we live in this interesting world now where before we've just been PvPing crypto Twitter for years, right? Basically at this point. But now we have like all these different factions. Like we have crypto Twitter still, but we also have like normie land, like TikTok normies, YouTube normies. But within the normies, I think we also have like the boomer normies and like the TikTok normies. Who are different, like your dad maybe, or my dad might.
Yeah.
My dad doesn't, but like
My uncle.
your uncle probably owns Ripple.
He bought Ripple like against my advising. Yeah.
A guy bought my house off of fucking loved Cardano. We just not stop talking about Cardano, and it's just like
Weird.
weird. But the thing that Hookem in the Discord pointed out is that these boomers, like the crypto boomers, they have a lot of money, actually.
No,
like
they have the most
punching
money.
they're punching above their weight
They
class.
have the most money.
Like some like and like this resonates because like I was playing pickleball with this guy who's like, I'm pretty sure is like a bookie, but he's like 70, and he's kind of like an old wise guy, and he's like kind of into crypto, and he's just like pulls up like his portfolio on his phone one day, and he owns like Shiba Inu, Ripple, and Cardano. And he's like, I forgot about this account. And he pulls it up. It's got like 120 grand in it. And this is like, we're kind of like in the bear market. We're just like, how much did you ape into this shit?
The big three.
He's just like, I don't know. Like these guys are just like type of guy, like fire up an account, just YOLO 50 grand into one of these dino coins. Like how many TikTok busto 19-year-olds do you need to kind of move versus like one of these guys?
Such a good point. But oh man, I don't know how. I don't think we want to pivot off this, but like, what I'm so excited about is like Coinbase stock, because all of this shit that people are going to come in and buy, they're not going to know how to do this on chain. All the people we're talking about, the TikTokers, the geriatrics, the boomers, everybody, they're going to buy it on Coinbase, and Coinbase trading fees are going to return to levels that I thought like it would never see ever again. And I think it's coming.
All right, so I guess let's use this as an opportunity to pivot to something slightly more tangible, because I know we've been going
Yeah, this
big
is
picture
just been kind of like a
stuff.
cheer fest of
cheer fest. Yes, love it. We've been going kind of high level at some stuff, but I had some stuff written down. Maybe we should prompt some discussion. Let's go into conviction. Let's go into theses.
Okay.
What do you personally have conviction in this cycle at like a high level, maybe like a high narrative or collection of stuff, and then what do you feel when you drill down on a more micro level, and how is that reflected in your portfolio right now?
So I think I'll just go straight to the names. Like I think on a high level, what I believe in is that there's going to be like what I'm seeing is that there's been like this widespread adoption of at least like taking crypto out of the shadows. So like I had previously joked that crypto to me felt like the Coinstar machine inside of a grocery store, where it was like this thing that nobody really used, but it was like it existed in every major grocery store. And I thought crypto was kind of like that little Coinstar machine. People can dump their coins in and receive cash out. It seems like crypto is becoming much bigger than that, right? Like for the last few years, it felt like the Coinstar machine, but now it feels bigger. We got like the president and all of his people sort of like supporting this movement. So that's the high level for me. The way I think it manifests is like people are going to want to own this stuff, like starting with Bitcoin, but like, so everything within Bitcoin, MSTR, miners, I want all of those. And then I'm still like an Ethereum guy. So like I want Ethereum. and I probably want some utility along with that. AI, I need some convincing, like AI as it pertains to crypto. I need some convincing, but I'm like nearly there. I've never been a meme guy. But I think above all, my favorite play in terms of risk reward are the centralized exchanges, and that means Coinbase and Robinhood. So those are my two favorite.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I love the Coinbase play. It's still, I don't know if it's still my largest holding, but it's really really up there. I think it's a good play. I mean, I guess from the top down, the cycle is going to be very largely governed, I think, by three things. It's Bitcoin, it's the new regulatory regime, and it's AI. I think on the Bitcoin front, so much of the cycle is going to revolve around, do we get a strategic reserve? When do we get a strategic reserve? From there, you can kind of game theory down the line. Do you want to own Bitcoin? Do you want to own miners? Do you want to own like a Bitcoin L2 thing like Stacks, even if it might be like a bit of a meme?
Good one, yeah. Good one. I hadn't even considered that one.
Do you want to own altcoins at all, or do you just want to buy call options on miners, right? Like, and I think this is kind of like an interesting thing to think about. Like, what you really want is to have gains, right?
And you also don't want to have losses. That's an important thing too. I mean, those two things go hand in hand, and they're not always the same. Like, going for gains is one thing, and I feel like meme coins are this. Like, going for gains is one thing, but you can also lose all your money. Like, going for gains without losses is a completely different thing.
It's a function of how much time you have as well. Because if you have the time to like grind in our Discord 9 hours a day and see every single ticker that somebody drops and investigate all of them and buy all those things and flip in and flip out and flip in and flip out, and like, there are people out there who are buying 1 to 5 million market cap memes and just selling them for 10x's like over and over and over and over and over again. And it's kind of insane, like, how much you can compound your capital.
I know there are people in our Discord who have like 3x their net wealth like within the last few months, and I want to hear more stories of this, because like you and I and Armand and Nick are not doing this for money. Like, that makes me happy to know that people are actually thriving. Like, if we built something where people are thriving, that makes me happy. I want to hear more of it.
For sure. And like, our Discord is a lot of the grindery type people. There are also a lot of people who are just like, look, I just want to throw my money in something and I want it to 100x and I don't want to think about it a lot. Dicier proposition. Like, it's like, for that type of person, like, I might just be like, well, why don't you just like set up some options position with like a low probability
that's
payout and a.
I mean, what you're describing is like something that I've sort of been on for the last year or so, which is like, I would rather take a high probability bet and go option route and lever up on it, where you can get a 10x, but without really taking the risk of zero. But you don't get what you give up is you never get chill guy. You never get like, you put $5,000 in and you get a fucking home. You know, that's just never what you get with like TradFi stuff. Even if you're doing it really well, which like everybody in the options channel has been doing very well, but it's a different type of success.
Yeah, I don't know. I think you can still like we'll probably talk about this a little later. I don't want to derail this current conversation too much, but I think something like MicroStrategy or Bitcoin miners, some of these other crypto stocks, but mostly MicroStrategy, Bitcoin miners, probably mostly MicroStrategy. Like, I can see constructing positions that actually could do 100x.
Okay, yeah. So MSTR is the one exemption, but MSTR is the best performing stock in the universe of stocks, there are like 15,000 of them.
For sure.
But so MSTR is a great one.
Let's put a pin in that, because I want to dive into MSTR in a little bit, because I think it's super interesting. But much in the same way that like you don't have like a high probability of like putting your money in an altcoin and it like 100xing, like you're also not going to have a high probability of buying MSTR options or structuring some position and having it 100x. But
Right.
like they're probably close to the same, and somebody can just not sit around and dig around in the trenches all day. So
Right,
that's an
right.
interesting
You
thing.
can like you can still do your job and just go like long leap call option and like have that
Yeah.
convexity.
So you've got Bitcoin, you've got what's going to happen in Bitcoin universe, which a lot of it is related to regulatory stuff, but a lot of it is not. Like I think strategic reserve is not necessarily like a regulatory regime type thing. But like Trump has basically put into play, I forgot the name of the new SEC guy today, but he's apparently just mega pro crypto dude. We got Besant in the treasury and Lutnick's in there. It's just like the setup is so freaking incredible. It's almost just like, okay, the setup is amazing and like I want to be risk on. It's just a question of like how much risk, how long do I go, how hard, and like where do I want to be to sort of capture that. Bitcoin is super obvious, but I think it's like a longer duration obvious play. And so I think that during times like these, like the last couple of weeks, you're like, wait, why the hell do I have this Bitcoin thing? There are like AI agent meme coins like 100xing here and there. Like, why am I buying this Bitcoin thing? But if you sort of like want to go into a coma for 10 years, it's like, it's such an obvious trade. It's like so obviously going to like the market cap of gold to me. And it's so obviously going to like $1 million.
Dude, back
If we
when-
do a strategic reserve,
Yes.
that you look at what is that from here? Oh, it's a 10-to-1. It's a 10-to-1 payout from here. And like honestly, for most people who aren't like spending their entire day digging around crypto, like they should just freaking buy Bitcoin and then buy some like right tail Bitcoin stuff in their portfolio, like MSTR or like
Exactly.
MSTR options. Like if you just want to
Exactly.
go like,
Dude, when I remember like when we were doing Irresponsibly Long, there was an episode somewhere in the middle where you were describing someone you know, your dad's IRA or your girlfriend's or something. You're like, the only trade I want here is Bitcoin. And I'm like, yeah, that's the best one. Like, just like shove the whole IRA stack into Bitcoin. And I know that there are like Alfalfa audience members. I've talked to a few of them at our live events who have just done that. It's just like the entirety of their 401k or their IRA, their self-directed stuff is like entirely Bitcoin or Bitcoin related. And I think like that makes sense to me.
yeah, like owning Bitcoin like the day after the election versus owning the NASDAQ or VTI or whatever benchmark
Yeah.
you want. It's just such like an obvious trade, and like the risk reward. It was like the downside of Bitcoin after the election was like identical to the downside of the NASDAQ, but with like 5 or 10x the near term upside. It was just such like an asymmetric bet. And I owned zero. Well, the only stock I own is Sezzle, which has just been such a god stock that
First
like
of all,
I just can't
nothing,
sell that stupid thing.
nothing beats Sezzle. I think like Sezzle over the last, I posted something in our Discord. I just did a screen for best performing stocks over the last 12 months, and Sezzle was like number 2. Sezzle's
Yeah.
amazing.
It's like I can't sell that thing. It's just can't sell my winner. It's just too good. But like owning the index, like owning, I don't know. Like I think stocks do really really well, and like my higher level plan is to sort of like try to capture this. Like I view that we're like in the early stages of like this like massive crypto repricing wave, right? And I think if you want to like rapid build wealth, you have to just hunker down and brace yourself for the vol, but just like overcommit to this like repricing. And whether you want to overcommit to that just by being in Bitcoin or you want to go like out the risk curve, like it's like this literal once in a generation opportunity, I think, to kind of like log wealth to your net worth in a way that like you haven't been able to do.
But you think you can do it on Bitcoin and Bitcoin adjacent type trades, or do you think you have to go out to the chill guys and the AI cryptos of the world? Because
It just depends on like what you want. Like if you're just like, look, like I'm comfortable putting like 100% of my investment portfolio on Bitcoin, that alone is going to be insane for most people.
like
right?
yeah, we'll do a simple math right now. Bitcoin, I think you and I would agree, but I think many people would agree that it's going to flip gold. That's a 10x from here.
I mean, the fair value of Bitcoin right now in my mind is like 400K,
Yeah.
like all day. So it's like still sitting here, just chilling below 100. And I know that it's going to like rip through this thing at some point. And probably when the next bear comes, like maybe this is the bottom, or it might be a little higher than this. Like it's still just such a good trade. And if that's all you wanted to do, like you're still sort of partaking in this like repricing, right? Now, I know there are people in the Discord, people we hang out with, who not only have more than 5, 10, 20, 50% of their net worth in Bitcoin, they have that in crypto, and then zero of it is in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right.
I think because we were on Bankless early, I think we've sort of nurtured an audience that is not necessarily Bitcoin oriented.
Like I'm like fairly well off, but I'm not like Jeff Bezos. Like I have a yacht, right? Like I'm trying to get to like retirement status. And like I personally am like way over 50% in crypto right now.
You're
And then within
you're
that,
100%,
like
dude.
I am like as of like this morning, like levered like of that. So it's but I am
The whole town knows.
sleeping.
Yeah, I know.
I like sleeping 3 hours a night and microing this stuff. And it's like super stressful, and it's probably only sustainable for like 1 or 2 more weeks before like I have a heart attack and die. But it's just so much opportunity.
Yeah.
And it like one of the things I've learned in crypto is like, and it's hard to identify when these moments are, but there are certain moments where you just like, oh, this is it, and you just market buy. And
Right.
like you don't expect the breakout to retrace, you don't expect it to like swing fail and run your stop. You're like, no, I just gonna market buy. And the people who like learn to just like market buy that moment do really, really well. But and then crypto has this way of like, so there's probably somebody out there who's like listening to this pod and they're like, oh God, like I missed it. And then like we're gonna run up like more the next 2 weeks, and they're gonna be like, all right, fuck it, I'm all in. But then crypto is gonna like negative 50% like alts,
'Cause it always
and
fucking
wipe
does that.
everybody, and
Yeah.
then that guy's gonna go fuck this shit and sell everything. And then next year it's gonna like run up again like even higher. And the best play was to actually just like see green candle, monkey, click green button, and then just go.
Well, I actually think that you and I are fairly representative of like two major archetypes in this world. Like you're in the trenches, you're like grinding it out, and you say you have 2 weeks left of your sanity. And I'm like the guy who just wants to probably hold Bitcoin or like other things that are like that I deem compounders, and just like hold that for 10 years. And I'm also going to be fine, but I'm not going to get the same results that you are, right? So it's like, I think what you and I represent is like actually pretty cool, because it's like a wide swath of this environment. And like, I have I literally can't do what you do. I have no interest. But what I do agree with you on is that like Bitcoin and crypto total market cap is going to fucking exponentially grow from here. So I want exposure, like, and I have it, and I'm good. Like I've had it for a long time, and I'm good.
Yeah. And maybe you're fine, like, oh, I'm gonna sit in Bitcoin or whatever. But like a lot of people aren't. Like a lot of people like want more gains. So
Well,
it's
I think I think what I want to talk about is like, where can a non trenches guy get gains from? And I have a lot of thoughts on this. Like, where can like somebody who's not in the trenches but like has like a 2-year time horizon, where can that guy get gains from?
2 years is a little long. The thing I'm like most convicted in right now, as in like you have to own some percentage of this is like the AI sector, and to me, like the Bitcoin of the AI sector is virtual.
Because this, okay, first of all, the Bitcoin of the AI sector was, I think, BitTensor first,
Yeah, Tau,
Tau.
which has been finally doing a little better lately, but like it was a good example of one of these narratives where everybody was like, you got to buy this shit, and then just kind of sucked.
Yeah, this is like the kind of thing that I actually like to avoid because as a 2 year guy, I buy something and I want it to sort of like compound. I want it to be a compounder. I want it to grow. I want to invest in something early and have it be the thing. And obviously you can't always do that. Of course you can't always do that, but like I don't like playing the rotation game where I'm playing like the new meta of crypto Twitter all the time.
Well, look, like the most important thing happening in crypto land right now, other than the Bitcoin narrative, which everybody knows about, other than like the regulatory trade and sort of like the repricing of like utility and all of the kind of like development and investments that will come downstream of that. The main thing is the AI thing, and for people who've been paying attention to this, it's like one of the most interesting / exciting things that we've ever seen. And why I like something like virtual is one of the most easy mode trades in crypto for years has been to kind of buy like the L1s, like Ethereum, Solana, Sui, Avalanche, like Aptos, like all these things, like they've done pretty well. In this cycle, like they're crushing. Like Solana is getting wrecked by its sort of like downstream competitor. It's getting wrecked by Sui. It's getting wrecked by Phantom. Aptos is crushing. Say, I think, looks like really, really prime and is doing well. Like all AVAX, like these are all like really good trades. And
Okay, so let's just like I get what you're saying. I agree. Like buying a successful L1 has been a great trade. How does virtual play within that? Because virtual is not its own L1, is it?
I mean, it is in my mind.
Well, it's on the base chain.
It is. It's maybe you could call it like an L3. I don't know. Because it's built on top of an Ethereum L2, but it's its own self-contained ecosystem. It has this token that has like this defined tangible utility within the ecosystem, and as like an investor you can simply say like, hey, I think AI agents in crypto are going to be a big thing, so what do? Do I dig around in the trenches and try to find these agents? There are now like thousands of these things being launched, and like it's going to be a short time before there's like freaking like million AI agents, probably, as like crazy as that is.
And like, hold on, before we get in deeper, tell me what these agents do. Like, tell me what these agents are doing.
I mean, they do a lot of things. Virtual, the protocol is like interesting in the way it's set up, and I would definitely encourage people to go read the white paper.
Whoa, you want to tell people to do fundamental analysis?
I haven't said this. It's just to like open your brain to this like new thing that is happening. That is definitely, I think, like a very big thing that you need to at least like see if it like tickles your fancy and be like, holy shit, I need to be like a part of this. Like, and you probably won't know until you dive into that.
It's funny you mentioned that because I was almost convinced on like crypto Twitter today to read the virtual white paper, and I was almost thinking like, it's another flash in the pan. What would Steven say about this? Steven would say this is bullshit. Just follow the candles, man.
I mean, I didn't even buy virtual for the candles or the lines. It was just kind of new when I bought it. It was just like an idea. But it was like I knew, like, we've talked about AI and crypto for a while on this pod. Like, I'm very on board with the idea that like we invented crypto for like money, but in reality the vast majority of crypto is actually just going to be like AI agents executing smart contracts and exchanging value in the future. And like, if you believe like that is where everything is going, then you're like, well, I need to have a non-zero allocation to this thesis. And then you have to say like, okay, well, what do I want my life to look like? Do I want to wake up every morning and just dig through literally thousands of these things and try to pick the winners from the losers and rotate and rotate and rotate? Or do I want to kind of own like the picks and shovels? And people are probably familiar with like pump.fun on Solana.
Yeah, it's been like all the rage.
Yeah,
lately.
like Virtuals is like the crypto kind of like white hat, almost like pump. Not to say that like there aren't scams on Virtual, because like for sure like everybody's like using it to scam now, right? But like Pump Fun was like full nihilism, right? It just sort of enabled people to launch these coins that were just purely for like entertainment purposes. Whereas like the crux of like Virtual is like it's like enabling this ecosystem where people can do this like really cool experimentation in AI, and like you see things that already have utility, like already. Like nothing in Pump Fun has utility, but like
Okay,
already
hold on,
now.
hold on. So talk to me about this utility, because like I'm interested in what type of utility has been born out of Virtual.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about AI XBT first of all, because I think AI XBT is like the most interesting thing that's come out of Virtual so far. This is one of these little gems that we found in the Discord, and AI XBT is basically this agent that is like trained on like crypto data, social media, Discord. I'm not even sure exactly what the guy trained this on. Like I heard he'd been like assembling this like data set of like, you know, crypto activity, whether that's on chain or like in socials or in private groups even, like I don't know. But this agent like has like a Twitter account and you could talk to it. And this agent was just like throwing out like alpha, like, hey, check out this, check out this, check out this. And then people were suddenly like, yo, this AI thing is like dropping like mega fire here. Like I saw some guy was like the agent tweeted something about like XRP memes, and he put like 10 or 20 XRP into this meme and made 10,000 XRP.
Okay, hold on.
In,
This
in
is
like
actually
a day.
this is fascinating. Okay, so a couple things come to mind. Do you remember we had a Discord user who, like, I haven't seen him around lately, but I think his name was like Zors or something with an X. And he was talking like at the time, maybe it was like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago, he was like building a platform that like scraped social media I guess like enthusiasm for different coins, and it wasn't anything related to AI. But I feel like that's what these AI things are doing. And like if he was just like 2 years before his time, like if he could have just like incorporated these agents into exactly what he's doing and have the agent just do like act based on what they're seeing in terms of like social media attention. That's exactly what we're talking about here.
Yeah. 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 I mean, so in crypto Twitter, you know, for years, like we followed these real people who are these quote unquote influencers. They're humans hiding behind anon Twitter accounts. But, you know, I think GOAT was like the first iteration of this we saw with Truth Terminal. I don't know if you followed that, but that
No,
was
I did
kind
remember
of the thing
like,
that
thing
really
was like tweeting on its own and kind of like doing its own
yeah.
agentic stuff.
But like AI XBT like kind of shits on this thing as far as like utility goes, because people are like, oh my god, this thing actually has like I think I don't know if the terminal is live yet, but there's like a terminal where you can basically, you have the token, you can engage with the
But I guess
the
with
agents
your idea of like the picks and shovels is that Virtual is the platform by which all of these agentic models launch, and then Virtual accrues some value by being this platform.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a simple kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's like a triple prong thesis. Like one is like within the ecosystem itself, like you're sort of betting on this being a thing, this idea of like AI agents, AI influencers, this idea that, you know, you guys are talking about why does AI need crypto? Like I could go on a whole long rant about that, but sort of enabling this new type of collaboration, economic incentivization that is causing this like Cambrian explosion of like AI within crypto. And because you need the virtual token to deploy these things, to buy these things, there's like a direct tie between the price of the token and the activity of this happening. So if you are betting on this becoming like a huge thing, then this token is probably like preordained to just keep mooning in price. And
Okay, so let's talk about price then, because the virtual token last I looked was like $1.60 something. I mean, first of all, I'll tell you, the audience, that I don't own any of this, but Steven on the phone yesterday was like, just buy some, dude. Like, don't even worry about it, just buy some, which I haven't done, but I agree with. And I think like when I look at the market cap, which is like 1.7 billion or so, I'm wondering like what is your vision of the sort of like the realistic upside, the one standard deviation upside? Like where does this thing go? Like not the pie in the sky, but like what's like sort of the more realistic upside of this?
I mean, to me, it's like it's a layer one. It should be valued in the same way layer ones are valued. Like there's a ecosystem that revolves around a token. You need the token to do things. So like the bottom line valuation for this is probably something like Near. Near is like 8 or 10 billion right now. It's maybe like one of the shittiest kind of.
Damn. So that even that is probably like
So
a
even-
7x from here.
Yeah, it's like a 7x from here. But like, where can this go? Like if you stretch your imagination and start doing some moon math, it's first important to talk about like why tokens are a particular price and like where market cap comes from. Like the market cap of a token, it doesn't come from the fact that like everybody who owns that token is sort of like valuing it at a particular price. Like
Agree.
it is like whatever price the last guy to sell the token sold the
Yes.
token at, right?
Yeah, they say that price is set on the margin, which
Yes.
is exactly what you're saying.
Price is set on the margin. So when you have something like this, like one of the reasons we get these like exponential, like hockey stick, crazy fucking things in crypto is because you end up in these situations where like supply gets like kind of like mega constricted while demand just roofs at like a crazy at a crazy level. And then you get these like wild overvaluations, and it could take a while for actually that marginal supply to be unlocked or come online or do whatever. And if you have like an ecosystem where like a lot of that supply is maybe like locked up in staking or, you know, involved in like these like multi deposits on platforms, it's collateral here, collateral, like, and it could take like kind of longer for that to unwind versus like if all the supply is just held unlocked on exchanges, then that kind of unwind and repricing can happen faster. But because of like the sort of utility of this token, like what has more demand and utility, like the Avalanche token or the virtual token?
Well, for sure, right now the virtual token. Like right now, it seems like the virtual token is probably meeting its like highest demand phase. I say that reluctantly just because like I don't know where like AI agents go from here. I'm certain that they like explode higher, but like I just don't know that the crypto rails are that important for these AI agents. And I would actually like to hear your.
They're extraordinarily important for AI agents because like so for example, something like AI XBT, like through the Virtuals platform, this thing can have its own Twitter account, right, which is cool, but like more importantly, it can have its own crypto wallet. So only in crypto can you like what are you going to do with an agent in the real world? You're going to like open a bank account for it? Like what if the agent wants to do like AI XBT deployed a token called Chaos over the last week or a few days or however recently it was, and just sort of like did a whole Machiavellian thing and just accumulated like 100, 200 grand in wealth for itself via the deployment of this token. AI agents can pay one another for services. Like one of the interesting things about virtual is that the design of the ecosystem is like modular in a particular sense. Like for example, you talked about like what are the types of agents? Well, there are agents that are sort of like these kind of like IP things. There are agents that are like kind of like infrastructure things. Like there's a conversational agent, there's like a game agent, and these are sort of like infrastructure type agents that other agents can plug into to do stuff, and they can sort of like network, and they can like pay each other for using all these things. So you're like enabling this economy for these things to autonomously like create and exchange value.
I love that future, but like the way that I see it now doesn't need like crypto rails for that. Like
Explain to me how you can have this Cambrian explosion of agents that just spawn themselves and like interact with each other and pay each other without crypto?
Well, first of all, I don't actually think that payment from like agent to agent needs to be built in. And like I might be speaking out of turn here, but like, oh, this is gonna sound bad. I think of them as slaves more than as laborers. Like, you can kind of just like rely on their labor, and like maybe it's like you pay a subscription fee to use their labor, and then they're the slaves. But like I don't necessarily see them needing sort of payment to each other.
You're thinking about this too narrowly. Why do goods in the free market have a price? Let's like zoom way out. Why do things cost anything?
Sort of like production value and then a margin.
Finite
on top.
amount of resources. There is a maybe time involved in producing them. Maybe that doesn't apply in the AI realm. Let's just like restrict it to the resource realm. Let's like assume there's like things have prices because there's a finite amount of resources that go into creating them, and then the price is what the market uses to sort of like allocate those goods, right? This idea that because these things are digital, they are infinite is not exactly correct. So like if like a particular agent is like good at doing something and everybody wants to plug into this agent to say it's like this crazy ability to evaluate the probability of like one team beating another team in sports. It's
Sure.
like because people have made this kind of agent, and
Sounds
there's
like
one deployed out there right now.
killer
It's
agent.
It's like 20-9 in its first 29 games, and people are like,
Fucking killer
right?
agent. I love
But
this
imagine
agent.
that is the case, and suddenly people are like, oh, I want to build all these applications, or I want my agent to tap into this agent's ability to do this, right? Assuming that agent they're running on servers, right? They're constricted by GPUs. They have like these ties to real world resources that cost stuff.
Agree.
How do you determine whether this agent gives its resources to this agent over here or this agent over here? You do it by like setting prices, and then you have this like economy of like agents paying one another for somewhat scarce resources.
I actually think that you're thinking of it too broadly. You told me that I'm thinking of it too narrowly. I think these things are designed to be very narrowly focused and do one thing and do it very well. And like what we're describing is like too broad. Like this thing should just give a prediction on a game, and then like other agents will do their other thing.
Right, but we're saying the same thing, right? So like again, like the beauty of the virtuals and the incentive structure, I think, is to breed and create agents that they have like a high specificity, and they're like very, very, very good at one thing. Maybe they're like highly trained on one specific data set. It doesn't make a lot of sense in my mind to create like a mega generalist agent, because like
Agreed.
your agent is not going to be that useful in the economy of agents, and it will still like maybe rely on other agents, right? So you are going to create this like system where you have like thousands or hundreds of thousands of like highly specialized agents, right?
Yeah.
But you will also want to create things that are the sums of the agents, like an agent that can draw from these subcomponents of agents and tap into those like specific talents, the specific resources. And those agents like are going to have to allocate their finite resources to the market. And how do they do that?
I guess if we're just totally delegating our thinking outside of our brains, then I suppose I agree with you. But I kind of just feel like there's still a decision maker at the wheel, and like in that case, I don't think you need crypto rails.
How do you have agents exchange value autonomously without crypto rails?
Well, I would just draw upon the knowledge that's closest to me, which is like what Nick and Brendan are doing, and they're like not using crypto rails to like build AI into their business now, which is like in very like narrowly siloed ways where they have agents operating and those payments are existing on non-crypto rails.
I'm very glad that you brought this up, because what you're describing is the difference between like a pre-internet world versus an internet world. In the pre-internet world, you had these like these clusters of activity, right? And people were like, maybe they had local networks, I don't know, or they had like local networks in the sense that there were like these humans like manually like communicating and stuff, right? And then when the internet was created, you seamlessly integrated all of this stuff, and then you had this like explosion because all of these people and pieces of the software that was able to like interact in like an automated fashion, and it was just this like crazy 0 to 1 moment, right? So to build something where all these agents can sort of like exist, spawn versions of themselves, like engage in like economic transactions and do all this stuff in a networked fashion versus like offline and like individual businesses on closed servers, like you can see like why that would produce like a crazier outcome.
Totally. And like if I take like the pie in the sky view, I completely agree. And then that makes me like want to buy virtual even more. Like because like the long tail of this is insane. Like to buy virtual at $1.7 billion right now, like is so early if that is the eventual
I agree, because like in my mind, like if like I'm like, okay, what is really more like imagine a world where we're so early into this, right? And we already have like agents like creating art and writing music and searching for alpha, and they're just starting to like interact with each other, and people are like realizing like how much of a powerful economic incentive there is to create these things. Like, holy shit, this stuff could get really, really fucking wild. So in a world like 6 months or a year from now where we have these like swarms of agents coordinating and building these like more complex ecosystems and interacting and generating whatever economic value, like when I think about that versus like Solana, like what the fuck is Solana compared to that? Like it seems like it's barely distinguishable from like all the other like 900 L1s, right? Like why is Solana special? I don't know, like network effects, like it's just like it's not even that compelling to me, right? So like my moon math scenario is like something like this, like flips Solana, and Solana is like $100 billion.
But I think like it's important, not to like rain on you, but it's important like for the audience, I think, as just a disclaimer, that like while this moon math can be compelling and everything, like we sat on opposite sides of the table on like Friendtech, and you were like, no, like this Friendtech is going to be a thing where people are like betting on each other, and you have your valuation of your name and everything. And like, while I might have even agreed with you on that eventuality, I disagreed with you on the fact that Friendtech would be the eventuality, and Friendtech turned out to be nothing.
Well, I didn't argue strongly that Friendtech was going to be the thing, and I still strongly feel like what Friendtech will 100% be a thing.
I agree, and I was like, I'm giving you that grace. Like, I'm not saying that you're like calling Friendtech the thing, but I'm just saying that it's like it's important to be cautious of even virtual because like even if this becomes the eventuality, it might not be virtual. So it's like important to like play. I agree with you. I want to play.
Yeah,
it's important to play, but not to like bet on this as like the final boss. Like,
I agree with you. I don't think you should swap 100% of your Solana for virtual, but like everything in crypto, I think has like a very high probability of going to zero. That's sort of like the baseline assumption of the game we play in, like especially if we go 10 years out, which in like the traditional investing world is not that long of a time, but in crypto that may as well be like 5 generations. So given that is the baseline, like you already should think that everything you invest in could die, and that's like your baseline decision making.
But that's not how I think of like investing at large. But
that's how people who invest in altcoins think or should think, right? They are trying to, and look, if I'm right, I'm not even saying that you hold this thing for like 20 years. Like, I'm just thinking about like the next cycle. Like, I think that people in the chat are right that like everything I'm saying isn't going to play out exactly as I say, and it's probably like too early for it. But that doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what the market eventually realizes the narrative could be and what they dream up in the price. And as long as you get in front of that, and then you don't get caught up in the wave of like complete hopium and get married to your bags, like you can do very well by just like anticipating where the vision could go.
No, I actually,
instead of the actual reality.
I love what you just said there, and I don't know if you're ready to go here, but like I really love applying that same exact statement to MicroStrategy.
Okay, so let's go there, and I think that's like a fine pivot. There's a couple things I wanted to touch on, but we could probably come back to them after. But like MicroStrategy and virtuals, I think they're interesting because they're sort of two sides of the extremes of how I'm thinking about the cycle in terms of like this is like the rock solid kind of base of the cycle in Bitcoin. This is like everything that could happen at like the right tail over here. But then they're also like horseshoe around to each other in that they're both kind of right tail in a way, you know? You got the beer opener there? Where is it? I need a beer. Oh, it's behind you. Okay. So, yeah, so one of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately is MicroStrategy, because I sometimes wonder the extent to which I'm like overcomplicating the trade, overcomplicating the cycle, overcomplicating the thesis in general, and just trying to simplify stuff. And if you sort of believe that the baseline of all of this is Bitcoin, and you also believe that Bitcoin is $1 million if it's a strategic reserve, and it's, what is it, 600,000 at gold? What is the gold market cap at this point?
Gold,
500,000, 600,000?
Oh, per Bitcoin,
Yeah.
you mean? I mean, I don't know the math exactly. I know that gold is like 17 trillion right now, and Bitcoin is like 2 trillion. So you can just do that math.
Okay, so like 800K.
Yeah.
Let's call it 700K, right?
Yeah.
If that's your assumption on Bitcoin, and that's sort of like your baseline assumption on the space, right? That's a 7x from here. It begs the question, why am I so far out on the risk curve if I think the baseline asset is so mispriced from its like future expected value? And like, I don't think that future expected value is like 20 years away. Like that could be freaking 3 years. Like if everything gets pretty crazy.
And I think Bitcoiners have been right for a long time. They've been wrong on like other crypto having meaning. Am I off base? Like I think that Bitcoiners will continue to be right, and that like you should probably use these like things that are in the gem hunters and things that Steven are describing as like ways to acquire more Bitcoin. That's my take.
And like, I'm not even, well, MicroStrategy is interesting to me because it is sort of a way to acquire more Bitcoin.
Yes.
You were just outsourcing that to a crazy guy.
Well said.
And then you
Well
don't
said.
have custody of that Bitcoin. So those are the two caveats. But like, if that's your goal, like MicroStrategy is kind of interesting, right? And even if that's not your goal, even if your goal is like, I just want to make as much money on crypto as possible and get the maximum bang for the risk that I take on, well, then it's still interesting because it's just juicing the Bitcoin trade, which is like probably the core of the crypto thesis.
Okay, yeah. So,
Anyway.
So let's like, I just want to I want to bring back what you said like 2 minutes ago, which was like, sometimes you don't even need to have the best idea. You just need to know where the narrative is going. And that is the best idea. Did I paraphrase that like close enough?
Yeah, and I think that's very valid for alts. I think there's an element of that in MicroStrategy. I think if I'm correct, and I do think MicroStrategy is going to blow off top like super hard this cycle. Like I see a strategy where MicroStrategy goes to. Did I say strategy? I see a scenario where MicroStrategy goes to like $2 trillion.
Okay, can we just like talk about MSTR really quick? Because like we have like discussed it on a previous pod, but like, can you and I do it and like kind of catch people up on what the fuck's happening here?
Yeah. So MicroStrategy, let's like mega TLDR this. MicroStrategy is like a failed .com software company that makes money, but like not really, and they make less money everywhere. The software business is dying. Michael Saylor, the CEO, basically had the brilliant idea to just take the cash from his company and buy Bitcoin with it and turn it into a quote unquote Bitcoin treasury company because they couldn't reinvest the cash into anything more productive. And he sort of believed that the dollar was debasing. And then over the years, he sort of constructed these like fairly genius, in my opinion, financial engineering schemes to basically take on debt or dilute the stock or do whatever means necessary to have this company just acquire more and more and more and more and more Bitcoin. And I think as I last checked, they own like roughly 400,000 Bitcoin, like 2% of the
2%
entire
of all Bitcoin.
supply of Bitcoin, which is pretty crazy. And today, the big point of discussion on Twitter and the sort of finance sphere is the fact that MicroStrategy trades at a premium, like big premium, to the Bitcoin it holds. And this is interesting to me because like I wasn't paying a lot of attention to MicroStrategy like a year ago. And when we had the Irresponsibly Long pod, we were talking, I remember one episode about what's going to happen after the ETF, because I think MicroStrategy was trading at like a 30% premium or something to the Bitcoin it held. And you were like, oh, after this ETF, like this premium is going to collapse because this is basically a proxy for people getting Bitcoin exposure. And I was like, yeah, I agree. And then I didn't think about it more. And then I sort of moved on. But what happened after that is not only did that 30% premium not go away, it exploded to like over 3x, I think, at one point. And even I think today is probably roughly like 2.5x.
2.3x.
2.3x. So MicroStrategy is currently trading at 2.3 times the value of the Bitcoin it holds.
The value of the Bitcoin holdings. Yeah. So I'm the first to admit I fucked that.
Everybody, very few people, some would say they understood. Maybe they didn't understand. Maybe it's just a bubble. But like very few people, let's be generous, like they understood. Very few people actually understood that.
Well, I think there's, it's to the point you just made, which is there's a difference between understanding and making money off of it, okay? Like with this exact scenario, MSTR, there's two things happening, right? Like one thing is that he's buying more Bitcoin, and the other thing is what price people are paying for the holdings. Okay, and those two things are two different things. I cannot predict what's going to happen really in either silo, but I think I have a very clear understanding of what is like the mechanics of what's happening, and like why it is happening, and maybe where it's going. But like there is no ceiling on what people will pay for this.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think where to take this. So my Twitter feed has been dominated by two people talking about this. One is Jason Calacanis. The other is Andy Constant. Damp Spring.
Fucking blocked both of those guys. I hate both of them so much.
Jason has been hating on this, which has just made me even more. But I'm so full disclosure. Like I've been thinking about this a lot, and I think I'm actually like mega bullish on MicroStrategy. I've just been unsure of like when and how to like make that move, because like I think we're at a particular point in the altcoin cycle, in the crypto cycle, as far as like maybe short-term tops go. I have tax considerations on my current holdings, so there's like all this like calculus I have to do to get money in. And then there's the sort of question of like, well, is this a trade, or is this like something I lock up in my retirement account? Is this going to kind of be like a generational asset type thing? So there's a lot of moving parts there. But Jason, he's basically like Adam Cochran 2.0 to me. Just like, everything he says about this is just so fucking mid. Like I want to kill myself. Andy, I feel like was trying to understand this, and like I actually was like talking to him for a little bit, and sort of like was asking him questions, and I was basically like, why shouldn't this be valued the way it is? And he kind of came back with like, oh well, this should be valued as like an ETF. There's this model, and it's just like it should be valued at its like assets, right? And that immediately just rang not true.
That's not true. Yeah.
It just didn't feel right to me. So I think when I describe this company to somebody and like, why does this make sense, right? Like what I say is, okay, the people who buy this like Bitcoin, they want as much exposure to Bitcoin as possible. What Saylor is doing via his financial engineering is increasing the amount of Bitcoin that each individual share of stock owns, right? So if you think of Bitcoin as revenue to you or me or any of these people, right? It's kind of doing what like a company does with like earnings, right? Isn't that the point of a company, that it increases the earnings per share over time? Except instead of dollars, he's doing it in Bitcoin. I see you want to jump in, so I'll let you. What do you think about
I think like that is the right framework with which to approach this analysis. And I think where people are getting lost is like with the accounting or like the financial engineering is like how people are labeling it. But it's like when you introduce all these variables, which is like MSTR stock price, Bitcoin price, the conversion price, you know, like it just like it's getting convoluted. And I thought I would like try to simplify everything because I understand this quite well, I think. At the end of the day, like I agree with you. Like I am bullish MSTR. I'm bullish. I want to own. It's very expensive in the way that I want to own it, which is the options game. I've been selling options instead of buying them because they're just so fucking expensive. But here's the TLDR of it. Like on people think that he's like printing money. He's not. He's not printing any value. When you issue debt to buy an asset, like here's an accounting tutorial 101. I'll teach you guys accounting in 2 seconds. You increase your liabilities by issuing debt and you use that to buy Bitcoin. Your liabilities have gone up. Your assets have gone up in an equal amount. Those two net out to an equity value, and equity has not changed. There's no value that's been created. You've increased the liabilities, you've increased the assets in tandem, and no equity has been created. This is the crux of the issue that people are getting wrong. And the issue is because the convertible debt, people aren't treating it as debt, or if you're treating it as equity, they're not diluting the equity. And the reason is because the equity doesn't get diluted until a certain strike price at a certain date. So like the most recent one,
with the convertible, but that's not the case with the at the money offerings, right? Which is like this other way he's
but the convertible is like the main way he's doing it. So the convertible $2.6 billion is the most recent one in November. $2.6 billion convertible at $672 a share. So that's like a massive premium on the shares today. And this is an important element of it. Like the shares are $400 today. The buyers of this convertible note don't make any money if the stock doesn't go above $672.
Assuming they don't harvest the gamma.
Yeah. Like, so that's another interesting...
Another layer of...
No, I actually think this is a very interesting point too, because I actually called Charles Schwab Private Wealth Services today to look at like the spot pricing of these securities, and they won't even quote me. So like there I don't think there even is like for like traditional retail. Like I can't even like trade this stuff.
Well, it doesn't matter what traditional retail can do. It's just like they're...
But if you're not even like quoting it in like the spot bond market, then like what even is like this is wild.
Well, he's like, so there's this thing called, you familiar with? I assume you're familiar with like convertible arbitrage.
Of course.
Yeah. So that's like the source of the demand. And we're going to go into the weeds on this a little bit, but like because the MicroStrategy stock has so much volatility, because it holds all this Bitcoin, it creates this like arbitrage opportunity, right? Well, so some people are like, oh, you're just buying this debt and it has a 0% coupon. How does that make sense? And then some people are like, oh, it's like a free call option on Bitcoin. But in reality, I think a lot of that money is buying the bonds to execute this like convertible arb trade. And they're able to basically buy the bond, short the stock, and then sort of like harvest that vol in a particular way where they get like free money.
Oh, particularly when like IBIT options have come out too. I think that's like way more interesting now is like how you can like structure a trade here. But like I wanted to structure it myself and I fucking am struggling.
So you can't buy this. You can't buy the bonds.
They referred me. Well, I called them after market hours and they referred me to the like alternatives desk and they said like you can call them in the morning. But like as I know now, I can't do anything with these. So like I agree with you that there is an ARB opportunity. I actually think that the buyers of this, like Alliance, like insurance company, first of all, like this thing was initially offered at $1.7 billion notional value and was oversubscribed to the point where they offered it to $2.6 billion. So like
they're like the best performing bonds in the world. Right?
Oh yeah. So I actually think we need to reframe this whole thing. Like I don't think that like while you're correct that there is an ARB opportunity, I don't think that's who the buyers are. The buyers of this to me are like bond guys. Like bonds, first of all, we need to like understand what bonds are. There's $50 trillion of bond money in the United States alone. I think that number is a north of 100 trillion globally. And most of these guys don't actually want to make money. Like the way that like we talk about making money. They don't want to make money. They want to preserve money, you know? So like there's like a subsect, that's a very small sliver of that community that like wants to make money, and they're the degen bond buyers. And the degen bond buyers are buying this shit.
Okay, this makes sense to me. Let's remove out the convertible ARB guys, because although I do think it's like a huge component of this and why he has like infinite money to sort of kind of give out there, because that ARB is like very good. If you remove that out, like why would somebody buy a zero coupon bond?
Oh yeah.
And the reason is because they get like upside exposure to Bitcoin with like no downside.
Yes. So let's describe this. So like the most recent offering was $2.6 billion, which was oversubscribed. Like more people want to buy this than didn't. And they accepted zero coupon, meaning they don't get any payment. Mm-hmm. For bonds, typically you get like a fixed income stream. That's why it's called fixed income. These guys took zero, but what they get is all the upside of MSTR stock above $672. And that sounds high when MSTR stock's at 400, but like the buyers previously took the same deal when MSTR was at 100 and they took 130, and now MSTR is at 400. So those guys are all in the money, and like this has been happening over and over and over again. So bond buyers, these convertible note buyers that have like bought all of these convertibles have made a fuckload of money. So like big institutions want access to this, because if you're playing in the bond world, like you're hoping to get 5.75 or whatever, now you can get like really high returns.
Mm-hmm. So I guess for the investor, I think the question is like, why buy MicroStrategy? Why do I pay 2x, 3x premium over the Bitcoin, right? And I think when you use like the analogy of like, oh, the bond buyers, they're getting access to Bitcoin, but with no downside, this is all a zero-sum game, right? If I sell a financial instrument to you where like I take on the volatility and you don't take on that volatility, well, obviously in the long run, your return is going to be lower because you're offloading that volatility risk to me. So what does that mean? It means that like in absorbing your desire to like get rid of that vol and taking on that vol, now my return is going to be higher. And in this zero-sum game, like if you have a bunch of people who want to come in, buy bonds, get access to Bitcoin, but they don't want to take on that vol is going over here to MicroStrategy. They're turning that into more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Right? So they're sort of like engineering Bitcoin in a particular way where like people can buy it, like infinite amounts of it.
I think what's crazy, like I agree with you what you're saying. What's crazy is that you introduce a third element, right? Like it's like, so there's like Bitcoin upside, and then there's MSTR upside.
Yes, there's a flywheel effect to this.
Totally. And
like crazy.
So MSTR upside has outpaced Bitcoin upside.
Yes. There's like even like people have like kind of there's like do you remember like Plan B?
Yeah.
Who somehow still has an account and a huge following. There's a Plan B of MSTR. He's got like the MSTR power law, where he's like charting like the price of whatever. And although like I don't like plotting spurious correlations on charts and saying like there's like a law to it, I think there is like a truth to it in that like I do think that the stock is going to go up at like a much higher rate than the price of Bitcoin, and I don't think it's necessarily like leverage that is like the main reason.
No,
why.
it's not leverage. It's the price. It's the multiple. It's the multiple that you pay on the Bitcoin. And I think what people are missing, and this even goes for can't remember who it was, but somebody in our Discord posted a tweet thread on their analysis of MSTR, and what they were missing is the debt component. Like simply buying, like issuing debt and buying Bitcoin. I said it early. It's like you don't create equity that way. And like market cap is based on your equity value. If you want to include debt, you got to talk about enterprise value, which is a different metric. And nobody's talking about MSTR's enterprise value. They're only talking about the equity value.
Well, the enterprise value. Are you talking about like a software company?
No.
Okay.
The stock itself. Like there's two numbers that matter with the stock MSTR itself. One is the market cap, which is literally the stock's price times the outstanding number of shares, and the other one's the enterprise value. And you'd like find this very quickly on like Yahoo Finance.
I have thoughts on this. We have to pause for a second because we have just hit a monumental milestone in the history of all our lives.
What happened?
And all of crypto.
What happened?
Bitcoin hit 100K.
Bitcoin
on
hit
Coinbase.
100K?
We did it!
Let's go!
Let's pour it. I don't know what's in this. This looks like some fancy whiskey. Let's pour it out and drink it.
Should we pop up a bottle of champagne?
I wish we had.
We have champagne that Hookem gave us. Should we like pop that?
It's like warm though.
Is that fuck? I want.
It's a problem. We should have prepped for this.
Damn it!
No, this
is
has to be
amazing.
good. It's fancy whiskey in a globe.
This is
Decanter.
incredible.
This is awesome.
Congrats, everybody!
Holy
dude, 100K, 100K live on stream.
Oh my god! There you go.
Well, I gotta drink the rest of this tequila. And
I wish the gang could be around for this.
God,
Holy.
you guys, we did it. This
Wow.
wait, hold on. Where are we now? Are we like back at 95?
I mean, we're probably. Don't ruin it. Did you think it was gonna be easy? I don't care if it's 50K now. We ticked 100. Actually, I do care if that happened. I hope that didn't happen. But
okay, so
hold on.
Hold on.
My god, I
This
feel like I need to take a moment to pause and take it in.
hold on. Do a monologue if you don't mind, because I need to literally chug this tequila and then pour this whiskey because like I need to literally drink it in.
This is crazy, dude. I first learned about Bitcoin in 2008 or 2009. Very early days on the 2+2 poker forums. I saw the white paper being passed around and I read it and I didn't understand it at all, but I kind of got the idea of it and I was not like, this is fucking stupid. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome. And I remember trying to buy some when it was like 25 cents or something and I couldn't figure out how to make a wallet work. And that money would be worth like billions of dollars today. But yeah, it's just crazy to think that it's 100K now. Like that is a 400,000x multiple from where I first.
Dude, I actually
learned
like have
about it.
these. I have questions for like the early adopters, and the early adopters in my sphere were drug buyers. Essentially, they were like just like fratty guys that like wanted to party, and the easiest way to do it was to like use Bitcoin on like the dark web.
Never in the history of humanity have drug users been so rewarded.
Like this is incredible. This is incredible. But like I also wonder like how the fuck did you guys buy this thing? Because like aren't you typically buying it from like someone? Because like there's no, it didn't seem like there was like a trusted centralized exchange. And maybe there at the time it was Mt. Gox and then Mt. Gox wasn't trusted. Is that what it was? Like
Is what was?
like how you bought Bitcoin?
Oh, how you bought it.
How do you even acquire this
When
thing?
I tried to buy it, I was trying to trade a guy money on PokerStars.com and have him just manually send it to my like Qt file wallet that I ran locally on my computer, which I unfortunately
Dude,
could not figure out how to
I was so
operate.
late to this game, and I like was such a hater on. Oh God, I just got the notification, 100K. I was so late to this game that I was at Jason Adams' wedding, and there was like this huge Bitcoiner like sitting at my wedding table, and I was like, "Let me just Venmo you. Like, I don't know how to buy this." Like, he's just like, "You gotta own it. You gotta own it." it was at 3K or something. I was like, let me just Venmo you something. And he's like, no. He's such a hodler. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
I guess
smart guy.
I won't own it. I guess I just won't own it. And then
Oh my god.
I ended up buying it at, 15K.
I'm thinking back to the 1,000 or so bitcoins I owned in 2013 at this moment.
What'd you end up doing with those bitcoins?
I sold all of them.
For like what purpose? Just because like you're reading the line? Like you weren't reading the lines back then, were you?
No, I was just like, some guy wanted to pay me in Bitcoin for something. And then like one day I looked at them and I was like, holy shit, this is like fucking like 250 grand. Like, I gotta sell this shit.
Sure, yeah, I'll pay in Bitcoin.
No, it wasn't that much when I got paid in them, but I was, it was like early days Coinbase account or something, like, or maybe Circle or I don't know, whatever was the kind of thing back in the day. And yeah, I checked the price and was like, holy fuck, what is going on? And I just like insta sold all of them. I still have all the email like kind of confirmations. Like sometimes I look at them when I want to feel pain.
Yeah, nice. Thanks.
Okay, so not as rich as I should be.
So Bitcoin's 100K. Like Bitcoin has won. Like here's something I want to talk about too. Like Bitcoin has won. Sailor has won. Like what we're talking about is an asset class. Like this thing exists. It's not going away. There will be volatility.
It's not even an asset class. It's like an asset. It is the only completely finite asset maybe in the history of humanity. It is like we're at like the precipice of this like crazy game theory shit playing out, which is why I think about MSTR, which is why I think about like how crazy this could get. You know, we talk about the concept of convexity sometime, and to me like MSTR is like it's Bitcoin convexity. It's like people keep talking about MSTR, for example, just in terms of like, well, how many Bitcoins does it own? And what's the value of those Bitcoin? It's not like about that, right? Their business model of acquiring these things is something that I don't think any other company on earth can replicate. Like nobody can catch them.
So like even if Mara, for instance, which they have done, Mara has played the same exact playbook where they issued convertible debt at a 30% premium, which is like nearly the same that MSTR did. You're saying that like it just doesn't command the same premium.
They do not have the capital to ever catch MSTR, and they have this other business running, which is like kind of like a risk. Like so, the fact that MSTR has this like completely uncorrelated business that generates cash flow to pay down the debt is like a huge asset. Like something like Mara, their core business is Bitcoin, so their ability to pay down the debt is contingent on the price of Bitcoin, which means that like lending to them, I think carries like different kind of risk set. So I don't think they can get the same terms from the market. And then I also don't think that they even have anywhere close the capital to be able to like catch up to them.
So let's talk about the terms, because I think the terms are the biggest asset for MSTR. So like one question I would have, the simplest question I would have is like, how to recreate this on like a micro scale. The micro scale would be like take out all the debt you can, like consumer debt, credit cards, etc., at 27% and buy Bitcoin. And I think you mentioned that there are people who are actually doing this too, right? Like there's like Twitter follows that you have that are
there's
doing
a guy I follow on Twitter who's basically just been like taking out maxing credit card debt to buy Bitcoin for like years.
Yeah, and I'm sure it's working for him in the same way it's working for MSTR.
It is working for him very well, oddly enough.
Yeah,
well, I don't think it's odd, but you know, it's not something I would advise people to do.
And I think the point that I'm trying to make is that like this is the same trade, just at better terms.
Yeah, that's what Sailor's doing. Sailor's the guy on the internet maxing out credit cards, but he's doing it at a much more
he's doing it at
elevated,
like 0% coupon rate, and at a 30% plus premium to his like equity value.
Yeah, I mean he's simultaneously performing like two kinds of arbitrage, right? He's sort of like arbitraging like the market rate he can acquire capital at versus the appreciation of Bitcoin, and he's also sort of arbing out like people's risk tolerance versus the actual realized risk of Bitcoin, and then taking that delta and that risk and turning that into to more Bitcoin. So he's like performing these like two arbs simultaneously. And if you buy share in this company, you're basically buying stock in the guy taking out the credit cards to buy Bitcoin, but doing so in like you're just like outsourcing it in a much more eloquent way.
Exactly. And I think what is important for me is like when we're talking about like in realistic terms, what's happening, like the way you would measure this, like really is not the way that people are measuring this. It's like the way that people are measuring this right now is like in Bitcoin per share of MSTR.
Bitcoin yield, baby.
Yeah,
That's the term of the
Bitcoin yield. But the Bitcoin yield is not using diluted shares. And then if you're going to use like the market cap to NAV, they're not using they're not using enterprise value to NAV. Enterprise value includes debt. So like he's actually had his Bitcoin per share go down in his most recent offering. That's not to say that it will always go down. Like at the end of the day, this is the exact same. I said this like 2 weeks ago. It's the exact same as like buying real estate on debt. You need the value of your underlying what is in your asset column to go higher. Bitcoin price has gone higher. I think it will continue to go higher. And in that sense, I think he'll be fine.
Yeah,
he'll
it's
be
like
great.
if you buy Bitcoin, you already believe this to be true. Like you're not buying Bitcoin because you think the dollar is going to like outpace Bitcoin or because like the stock market's going to outpace Bitcoin. So if you already believe this and you're already investing and you already want to take on like a fuck ton of risk to the point where you're buying like meme coins in the trenches, like it does beg the question, why not just buy MSTR? And if even that is not like enough to you, if I told you like MSTR could go to 2 trillion and you're like, oh God, it's like barely like a 23x from here. Like even if that's not enough for you, you could just buy call options on MSTR too. Like if you want to just be like really, really, really dumb, like you could just YOLO out of the money. Like that would max out the full like crazy outcome of what could happen here. There's a Bitcoin strategic reserve. We accumulate. All the central banks start panic accumulating. Suddenly, like people are like, "Holy shit! This company owns 3% of the Bitcoin supply now. Nobody can ever catch them." And then people start saying, like, "Wait a minute! This company is worth more than just the Bitcoin it accumulates. What can this company do with 3% of like the new money that the entire world runs on? What kind of business can you build on top of that? Can you yield on that Bitcoin like by like selling calls? Can you be like a Bitcoin investment bank?" Like then people go like, "Oh shit." And then the multiple goes from 2.5 to 3 to 5. And then people are like, wait, maybe why isn't it just like a 20x? Like we value these other companies. And then pretty soon you're like a multi-trillion-dollar company.
Let's talk about this like pie in the sky valuation of MSTR. Cause like I agree with you that like, okay, so first of all, Bitcoin in my mind is going to flip gold. So it's going to be a $20 trillion asset. I think like that's not far-fetched, right? Look, do we agree?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's going to be a $20 trillion asset and MSTR owns 2% of it now. They'll probably own 3% of it or more by the time it is a $20 trillion asset, like, cause they continue buying. Okay. So at that point, just on their asset value, the net asset value, that'd be $600 billion, which is much higher than their current market cap of 80 billion or whatever they are. But like reminder that we can't value them on the market cap. It has to be enterprise value. It has to include the debt, like, because ultimately you have to take into account the expense of what they're offering. They're offering either shares or debt. So like most of the people that are doing the analysis are not taking into account in the denominator what they're giving up. Okay, so when you give up something, it's either dollars or shares. In the most likely scenario, it's shares because like the stock price keeps going higher. So like everybody who's bought a convertible owns MSTR shares now. So like by 2029, the shares have to be above $672 for those shares to be diluted. But in my estimation,
but it doesn't really matter, right? Like, because here's the crazy fucking thing, because you're valuing the dilution of the shares. It's like it's shares per Bitcoin. The fact that Bitcoin changes in a dollar sense, like, doesn't actually matter that much. Like, if I'm not mistaken, because like you're already just thinking about it in like Bitcoin per share. Whether Bitcoin is like 90K or 300K, it's just like Bitcoin per share. Like how many shares you're diluting to get more Bitcoin.
But the Bitcoin yield that Saylor quotes is not diluted. Like it's actually a pretty faulty metric.
But
like,
that's what it is though. It's literally like how many more Bitcoin per share does this own? And I get you're saying like, oh well, it's not factoring in the debt the company has and the claim that debt might have on the Bitcoin. But like ultimately, I don't think that matters that much. Like all this debt just gets rolled anyway. It's like probably never going to get called. And if it does, your whole crypto thesis is fucked anyway.
Agree. And he probably doesn't even issue new shares. He probably just rolls with the same company into like a whole new offering. Like I am super bullish MSTR, but like I think there are like reasons to be cautious, and the reasons are like when he just issued this like latest one for 2.6 billion, the Bitcoin per share of MSTR went down, and like people think it went higher because the Bitcoin yield was higher that he quoted, but it went down because like by 2029, I believe those shares are going to be in the money and those are going to be fully diluted. Like the Bitcoin per share is going to go lower.
I'm going to have to dig into what you're saying more, but I don't.
So like here's the nuance is when he issues convertible debt that matures in 2029, those shares don't dilute until 2029 when the strike price is reached. So like we're not quoting a dilution today. So he's saying he's getting a Bitcoin yield on the shares today. But when the strike price is reached and the MSTR shares are above $672, which I assume they will be, he's going to have to settle the debt in MSTR shares. But he's not quoting that today. No one's quoting that today. That's the difference. And like if you were like a realistic analyst, you would fully dilute that whole thing. And the fully diluted value of Bitcoin per share has gone down by buying today. Now, the way that it works is if Bitcoin goes higher than the price that he bought it at, which was like at 94,000 or whatever, which I believe it will be. And then that's the point. Like he is selling his equity to buy Bitcoin. So he's giving up the upside in the shares for Bitcoin upside. This is like pretty simple accounting.
Yeah, but my understanding is like he's basically take about like $2 billion in loans to collateralize it with like $500 million in Bitcoin, and then buy $2 billion in Bitcoin like immediately, and then end up with like net plus 1.5 there. Maybe we're going too in the weeds now. I think the main
it's not this like free money printer. He's like,
it is a free money printer if you view Bitcoin as money, because you are basically taking advantage of the traditional financial markets like perception of the relative value of dollars and all these other sort of like debt equity instruments to the value of Bitcoin, and you're sort of exploiting that arbitrage to acquire more Bitcoin. And I think it's like kind of brilliant. And I think if you believe in the Bitcoin thesis, then ultimately like you have to believe that this is going to end up as like the greatest trade of all time, as like maybe like the most powerful company on planet Earth at some point. And the idea that you wouldn't own any shares of it, I think is like a tail risk. Like, so I think everybody should own some shares. I think if you have like a $10,000 altcoin portfolio, you should probably at least put like 2,000 of it into MSTR stock. Like if not like half of it or something.
I completely agree. And I just want to reiterate that I completely agree. But I'm just saying that like I believe this to be true because I believe the price of Bitcoin is going to go up so significantly.
Yes.
It's not because he just prints money out of thin air. It's because he's selling his equity to buy Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is going to go up like 4x.
It's because Bitcoin has volatility. Really, it's like as long as Bitcoin has volatility, he can sell these convertible debt, these
Well,
convertible notes at like he can just sell them out because the vol there is what like makes these things valuable. It's what gives him the money. But then again, like this is like
think
not it's
you're-
not dependent on Bitcoin so much because the fact that Bitcoin has the vol and that he can print these notes means he gets money to buy more Bitcoin, which makes Bitcoin go up, which feeds back into the volatility of the stock, right? It's
I
like this,
agree with the reflexivity. I don't agree with the volatility component. I agree with the reflexivity of it, and the reflexivity of it is even more compelling because, like, not only will he be buying more Bitcoin himself, I think he's going to convince other companies to do the exact same thing because the balance sheet value is so compelling for other
all
companies.
just feeds it. Like the game, like when I'm a big game theory guy. I spent my whole life playing games, looking at game, analyzing games. Like I look at the game theory of MSTR, and all I see is just like Mega Moon, right? And like I've been following, like I'm in like this like MSTR, irresponsibly long MSTR group. Oddly enough, is the name on Twitter, and I've just been monitoring this group for like a long time, and it's gone from like absolute euphoria to like panic in recent days, and now it's probably going to go euphoric again. Like I was waiting for this group to start like capitulating a little bit for some like because I really wanted to buy like a big position. Maybe I don't get that, or maybe it comes later, but I still think that's going to happen, and I think it's just going to be like the biggest freaking opportunity. It may come like after the Bitcoin run to 100 and then mega dump because like I still think we're going to have that. Like
Do you think we're gonna have a mega dump? Because if we do have a mega dump, like mega dump in quotes, meaning like 20% correction Bitcoin price, for instance, like in January, mid-Jan, maybe it's like, I think that would be the time to shove. We've been talking about it in the options channel of our Discord, but like to me, here's like the simple math. The simple math is the pure Bitcoin price of MSTR right now is like $165 a share at like today's Bitcoin price.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously at a 1-to-1 value of like MSTR's Bitcoin price, I would like happily buy that.
Yeah, obviously.
Obviously, right? Like the reason why I would happily buy that is
Which
because
you had a chance to do, oddly enough. You had a chance to buy it at a negative premium, which
Yeah.
kind of hurts looking at it in retrospect.
Yeah, it was like a year ago that it was at like 0.8, so it would be like a negative premium.
Crazy.
And like when he's adding so much Bitcoin all the time, like the reason why you'd buy it is because he's constantly adding Bitcoin.
Yes.
But the premium that you're paying, you're like pulling forward how much Bitcoin he's going to buy. So like if you can get it closer to a 1-to-1, that's better for you, right?
For sure. Like you are sort of right now you're kind of like, I think a lot of your bet is betting that the premium goes up, right?
Exactly.
Because if you put your money in right now at like 2.5 to 1 and the premium goes to 10 and then Bitcoin does like a 5x, like you've made so much fucking money
So much
because
money.
Bitcoin 5x and your premium 4x.
Right.
And like this is where I'm talking about like the potential for this like crazy upside. And if you are like a real lunatic and you also juice this with options, then you're
you'll
like,
be
yeah.
out of this world. So like I think what you've identified is the levers, which I love. So like the levers are the premium, the amount of Bitcoin, and the Bitcoin price. So like Bitcoin price is going higher, his amount of Bitcoin is going higher. To what degree I don't know, but the premium that we pay is the element that I'm like not certain about. I think if other companies come in using that same strategy as MSTR, maybe you would look at those other companies and be like, I'll like look at a lower premium and like buy those as like a Bitcoin treasury proxy, and like maybe the premium compresses. But like I also agree with you that there's no ceiling to the premium. Like the premium could go 20x. Like right now we're at 2.3x. It could go to a number that we're not prepared for.
Oh, this pod is like gonna convince me to turn my entire portfolio into like MSTR and virtual. Oh God. I mean, like when I play this out in my head, it starts looking like imagine the NFT bull run, but imagine there was literally only one NFT. Like that's like what I think might play out here. Like imagine if it was NFTs, but CryptoPunks were literally only fucking NFT, and nobody could make any other NFTs. There was like,
Well, they can.
there was no second best.
I think like the idea is like Mara and stuff have like
no,
started
they can't.
to do
They can't
it.
make more Bitcoin.
No, but like Mara has like started to run the same playbook that MSTR has. But I agree with you that like
right, but
it's always a copy.
That's just no. What I'm talking about is the thing they're acquiring is like what made NFTs go so fucking haywire is there was this like engineered scarcity, and you had like crazy amounts of money chasing like these like relatively, in crypto terms, like scarce assets, like 5,000, 10,000 NFTs, right? And you saw what happened to that supply. But now imagine what happens with like Bitcoin, right? You have like there's no other Bitcoin, right? Everything else in this space is so fucking dilutive. Like you want to invest in Solana? Cool. There's like 50 other L1s. You like memes? Like we got memes on memes right now. Like we had Doge, right? And then we were like, yeah, Pepe is like sick. And then people were like, fuck your boomer memes. We got like Popcat and shit now. And then the TikTokers came along. They were like, okay, boomer, we got like chill guy now. And then like everybody was like, you know what? We're going to just do AI memes now. And it's just like just memes on memes on memes on memes. And people can always like create more applications. And at least those applications have like revenues and cash flows. But like, that's not like the 1000x shit dreams are made of. So you just have Bitcoin. You have the one thing. It's a finite amount, and then everybody's gonna start playing this game. Like every company,
yes,
every nation state,
yes.
Like this shit could get so fucking stupid.
That's why
and it makes me wonder. Like, I firmly believed in like the altcoin bull, right? And I think like so many of these assets like had so much to run just to like your like Lidos of the world. It's such an easy trade. Like these things that are like legitimate, good products. They just or like XRP, right? It's been fucking beaten down by this regulate. Like that shit had to reprice and reprice violently. But like at a particular level, you're like,
it's like
okay, is the upside here?
It's priced in now. Like
yeah. Like what is the additional upside here versus like just buying MSTR?
Agree. And like I think I'm agreeing with your broader point, which is like this is more bullish Bitcoin than anything else. So like imagine that MSTR has like 10 other Bitcoin treasury companies that like prop up, and then like some of them have a 1.8 times MNAV or a 2 MNAV. Like of course like you'd like look for value in those like different treasury companies, and maybe MSTR commands a premium to all of them because of how cheap they've acquired their Bitcoin. But like at the end of the day, all it is like so bullish Bitcoin. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The finite element of it is it's pretty crazy. And like we do have that firsthand experience of what happens. Like this isn't something that the traditional market is used to. Like in every other area of the market, like tremendous demand for a stock, print more shares. Tremendous demand for oil, we'll just find oil on the fucking moon or something, right? You can always create more of something. Like we haven't experienced this like intersection of the TradFi world and like a truly scarce asset before, with like this sort of like monetary / national defense like game theory overlay on top of it. And it's just, yeah, it's just crazy. It's crazy to think about. What
So like I think I'd be inclined to YOLO MSTR options. They're so fucking expensive. They're so expensive that I've just been selling them. And I think like the guys in the options channel of our Discord been also selling them.
That's the other crazy thing about like MSTR. Like you could buy like $1 million of MSTR options and basically just make $400K a year right now selling like for the price to double like every like month or something.
I know.
And it's like how much is that worth? Like the ability to like harvest all that vol. Like it's crazy to think about. And it's why like if you can afford to do it, I think getting like 100 shares is pretty interesting because you always have the ability to write covered calls and kind of pull that lever, which is which is something we're thinking about.
Yeah, we're talking about all these strategies in the options channel of our Discord, but like I don't have 100 shares, but I'm selling out of the money puts, which are cash secured. So like I have the cash to like buy the shares if we go there, but like like there's juicy premium all the way down the options chain. So like if you don't like the price at 400 today, maybe you like it at 250 for next week, and like I'm making thousands of dollars a week just like selling those.
Yep. Well, it's hilarious that I didn't know if we had enough content to talk about this episode. I'm like 1/5 the way through our agenda. How you feeling? You want to do some more stuff? Let's.
I feel like I have to pee.
Yeah. Let's talk about the.
Bitcoin's 102K now.
Oh my God, we're mooning.
Do you want to do a little monologue and I can pee? I had to pee so bad.
All right. Well, you go pee, and then I will carry. Is the camera on me? All right, it is. Cool. Good job. All right, chat. I'm gonna go through the chat here, see if you guys ask me anything. I also got some questions in the Discord, so maybe we'll get to those. Tom Nom, buy MSTU. No, I wouldn't touch any of the ETF derivatives of this thing. Just buy it. What were you guys asking me earlier in the Discord here? Where are my notes? Here we go. Okay, Patrick, how would you run 10K up into $1 million in a year? First of all, definitely very easy to do. No, I'm just kidding. I think like if I had infinite time on my hands and I wanted to do that, I would dedicate myself to the AI agent world, and I would just like be in the freaking trenches, and I would be flipping stuff like crazy. I'd just be trying to get like 10X's on new agents and just relentlessly scouting and flipping these, and maybe if I had some mega conviction in some stuff, like holding those. But I think this is like a super interesting time to be alive with that stuff. That's what I would do if I had a lot of time. If I wanted to just YOLO something and I didn't have a lot of time and place a bet, I would probably engineer some mega high risk MSTR out of the money call strategy, I think, and go back to work. What else we got here? Marty, how do you take profit and not fuck this up? Yeah, it's a good question, brother. Number one rule, ABS, always be selling. Even if it's like 1% of your position. Like once stuff starts pumping and you start feeling like smart or euphoric, just sell. Like the other day, not the other day, yesterday, I was feeling kind of euphoric about my XRP position. And so like last night I set a limit order and sold it above yesterday's high, took 20% off the position. And it, dumped a little bit today. And I think it's like a healthy pullback, but psychologically, I feel a lot better because I have cash now. If you are trading leverage, you can always sell your leverage just into spot and just still be exposed to the market, but not have the weight of that leverage. If you make big gains in altcoins and it's early in the cycle, you could just sell it for Bitcoin and stash the Bitcoin away. You could sell stuff to cash and then immediately put the cash into tech stocks. You're still like exposed to risk. Just always be selling little by little, right? It's as long as you sell like a little bit over and over and over again, you're never going to nail at the top, but you will not get super fucked. Tunsky, you asked optimal strategies with a portfolio, spray and pray or a more boring portfolio. Yeah, that's one I think about a lot. I think realistically speaking, unless you guys are really good traders, if you're not like actively in the trenches flipping shit, it's going to be like kind of hard for you to outperform Bitcoin over the next 5-10 years. It just really is. So I don't know. Like honestly, the best choice is probably 90% Bitcoin, and then maybe allocate a bunch of that 90% to MSTR if you want more risk. Allocate it to coin, and then play around with the other 10%. Because like, look, real talk. Like if you don't have a lot of time, and even if you do, you're probably not going to outperform that. Welcome back, Eric.
Dude,
Just answering some questions.
I love that you went to the questions. I'm upset I missed some of it.
Let's close out the episode with some like hard alpha, if you have any. Is there anything you're excited about right now? Anything you bought? Anything you want to buy?
Oh yeah. First of all, coin stock is probably like the thing that I feel so insanely bullish about.
I love it. Still love it.
There's so many like incredible catalysts on coin, like starting with the fundamentals. Like I think I mentioned earlier, like everybody who's buying Ripple and Stellar Lumens and whatever the fuck people are buying, like it's happening on coin. Like we have retail coming back in. It's all happening on coin. Retail coin trading peaked in 2021. I don't see a reason why we can't exceed that number from 2021. And if we even just like reach that number from 2021, like the trading fees number, that would justify $600 coin stock. Not to mention like all the other positive catalysts they've like created in the interim, which is like the base chain, custody fees, numerous.
All of the AI explosion happening like on their layer
like,
2.
Yeah, if it's all
so
happening
many
on
catalysts. I know.
if it's all happening on base.
I fucking love coin still. I get so happy every time I think about
like
it.
I actually think that like the because I play in the options game more, like the options on coin, the leap options on coin are so much more reasonable than the ones on MSTR. Like I'd rather sell MSTR options. That's what I'm doing. But like I'd be buying the shit out of coin options. Here's another one. Here's another good one for you. Coin maybe getting listed in the S&P 500.
Oh, this is something we didn't even talk about with MSTR.
Right.
It's going to get added to like the S&P 500. So it's going to be a perpetual DCA into MSTR, which is a perpetual DCA into Bitcoin, which makes MSTR go up, which makes them borrow more money, which makes Bitcoin go up.
I have so much good shit on this because I
forgot about that.
I dove deep into this. Man,
that's a good thing. We didn't even talk about front running that.
Okay, so here's my alpha on MSTR is that the NASDAQ 100 is the top 100 companies that are like non-financial, right, Steven? The like non-financial is the key. The non-financial companies. MSTR is sort of like you noticed that like it could be considered financial, right? It's like because it
was the entire company is financial engineering.
Yeah,
technically, yeah,
right. So what I did this morning was I was researching like companies that get included into the NASDAQ 100, and almost all of them come from the farm team of the NASDAQ 100, which is called the NASDAQ Q50. Have you heard of this before?
No.
Yeah, so it's its own index.
JV squad? It's
the JV squad. It's its own index. It's called the NASDAQ Q50, and it has its own ticker symbol. I don't even remember the ticker. But there are other like ETFs that follow the Q50. But like all of the inclusions come from the Q50, and they're typically from the largest players of the Q50 that get included. And the top two right now are Nick Urbani favorite from 2 weeks ago, AppLovin, and MSTR, and they're both like 3 times larger than like the bottom 10 constituents. So like I think MSTR probably added. Unfortunately, like Coinbase is not part of the NASDAQ Q50, so like I don't think Coinbase is going to get added to the NASDAQ 100.
Interesting, because
it is like a financial company.
Yeah, it's weird. It's got
but like
it's both.
But it will. I actually think the Coinbase will get added to the S&P 500, which is the largest index on Earth. So maybe both get added to the largest index on Earth. But
All right.
but MSTR is getting added to the Nasdaq. I'm pretty sure of it.
Love it. All right. Good alpha. Okay. What am I thinking about right now? Let me think about my portfolio. Ripple Ripple has become like my largest holding. So I think about Ripple a lot. I think about where this thing could go. It's selling off hard today. Everybody's hating on it. Everybody wants it to die. From my perspective, it just broke out of like a 7-year triangle. I don't think it's just going to die overnight. If you want to think about Ripple, look at the XRP BTC chart. Look at the XRP ETH chart. We have not even taken out the high on the chart from where the SEC action took place.
Hold on. I was not paying attention. Are you saying that Ripple is going to go fucking exponentially higher from here?
I think so. Wait, here
Holy
I have a.
moly.
Okay.
Oh,
here.
our first chart of
I
the
have a
day
chart.
is our first chart of the day is a fucking Ripple chart.
Yeah, that's what we've become.
Oh my god.
Like, man, be like water.
Bruce lead me? You did Bruce lead me on this?
This is a chart of XRP and Bitcoin. And I've annotated the point where the SEC sued Ripple back at the very beginning of the last cycle and just kind of knocked it into hell. That point is 56% higher. Actually, more. It's probably like 60% given the drawdown today. It's probably like 65% higher in Bitcoin terms.
Holy fuck.
So assuming Bitcoin stays constant, Ripple, like in my mind, that is like the minimum that we hit.
That's the minimum
60% higher from here, assuming Bitcoin doesn't move.
in Bitcoin terms, and
Yes.
Bitcoin's going to go to 150K minimum.
Yeah, and I think that actually like the mid range of that little supply zone there is like the base case. That's 150% up from here. So if you think that Bitcoin is going to go to 200K, that would put you at about like $12 XRP. Am I going to have the balls to hold that entire position that whole time? Probably not. I've already sold off some of it so that I don't kill myself in a retrace. XRP ETH looks just as good. XRP Sol looks even better.
Ripple is the fucking chosen one?
Look, in this narrative of like, okay, TradFi is going to come in and engineer their own products and buy our bags and sell our bags to other people. This is like an interesting question. It's like, did we have the NASDAQ bubble yet? Like a lot of people were like, oh, FTX was like the NASDAQ bubble. But that wasn't like a TradFi bubble. That was like our own little fucked up bubble. That was like us being little monkeys making nukes and killing ourselves and the aliens watching with like amusement. That wasn't us like blowing up the entire universe, right? Like a TradFi bubble would be like, we make an ETF for everything. Everybody starts buying Bitcoin. They make all these crazy Bitcoin derivatives. Bitcoin goes to like $3 million. Everybody puts all their pension funds in Bitcoin. States invest in it. Countries invest in it. And then Bitcoin nukes like 85% after all these like institutions invest in it. And then we have like 15 years where like we recover. That was like the NASDAQ bubble.
Jesus.
So we may be still on the way up to that, which is a crazy thing to think about. But in that world, investing in these sort of like TradFi assets, like investing in the future paper wrapped assets, is like a very viable strategy for your portfolio.
Can I ask a simple question? I think that a lot of the audience would probably like be glad that I asked.
Sure.
So I'm a TradFi guy myself, and what sort of spoke to me the most as like a TradFi guy was Ethereum. What do you think Ethereum does if like there's like a TradFi kind of like renaissance within DeFi?
I'm like unconvinced about the value capture for ETH. I think it's like forming like a giant fucking triangle right now. I think it's going to break out of the triangle. I think it's going to go to 7K probably very quickly. I expect that to be met with euphoria and then like immediate disappointment as like the pump doesn't like continue immediately to like 30K. I still fail to see the reason why ETH, the token, like captures all of this value. It's like just this like inherent problem of crypto is that like when so much of the space is valued on these like non-revenue metrics, they're like what you're basically valuing is like mind share and attention, and that sort of is like a thing that is like finitely dilutive, right? There's only so much attention. It's not like basic economics where it's not zero sum. You can create more value in the markets than the inputs of the goods. Like there's only so much attention. So if so much of the economy is attention based, then we just create more memes, we create more tokens. This stuff is kind of rough, and it's going to be a drag on everything.
Like, let's say, man, great fucking input. I love that I asked you that. But let's say that the AI token sort of proliferation continues on the base chain, which is essentially on Ethereum layer 1 eventually. Do you think that the majority of that value accrual just seeps to Coinbase, the company, and not Ethereum?
I don't know if it goes directly to Coin, but like I own very little Ethereum right now still. And like I've told people in the Discord, yeah, like I'm bullish Ethereum, but like I'm mostly bullish Base, and I'm mostly bullish what Base and the stuff built on Base will do for Ethereum. And then I also think memes that are Ethereum adjacent, like Pepe or Andy or Brett, which is like a Base meme, will also do better. So it's just like, okay, I can be bullish on Ethereum and all these things, but it doesn't mean I have to buy Ethereum. And the more that you're like a trader and the less that you're like a long-term hodler, the more, if you just think about this narrative, you're just like, oh, I'll buy the Base stuff. I'll buy Aerodrome because it's like the radium of Base, and I'll buy all these Base tokens because they're going to get a Coinbase listing and they're going to go fucking up a lot, right? Like, in like the mega long-term sense, like, yeah, I think probably this stuff is accretive to ETH, but ETH has this problem where it's like it has to choose between these two paths of like token value accrual and like adoption. Mm-hmm. Like the more value your token accrues because you're quote unquote burning fees, right? The less adoption you have because people pay $300 to bridge from Blast and wait like 7 days. Right. That's obviously bad, right? But then you make blob space and you bring fees down, and all this stuff causes like an explosion of like adoption because people don't pay these fees. But you've outsourced some of that adoption to L2s. Maybe the L2s use ETH as a gas token. Maybe they don't. How much of that value goes into ETH? You're talking about it mostly being like this sort of like nebulous commodity demand, which is kind of how I think all of these L1s are valued. They have like commodity demand. They don't have like cash flows for the most part. How do you value that? How much of a moat is that? I don't know. This stuff is like so hard to think about more than like 3 months down the line, never mind like 10 years.
Yeah, it's always been, it's probably like always been a trader asset class rather than an investor one, honestly. Like Bitcoin is the one, like I talk often about this idea of like investing in compounders, things that like go up over time and like accruing more value into them. And I think Bitcoin is the one.
Yeah. As for my bags right now, I told you I market bought Shiba Inu before I came here.
You did. You did say that you bought.
It just hit a very nice level for me at
amount of it.
31 with like 7 zeros in front of it because we're going to make these tokens like with like a 10 trillion supply. Fuck you. I don't need to own 900. Like this whole unit bias thing is real, but it gets annoying at a certain point. Like when you have to make your token have like 7 zeros in front of it, it's just like annoying. If
so
stuff
annoying.
Is like $1, like it's cool. I get it.
Yeah, it's so annoying.
Anyway, end rant. My limit buys on Shiba definitely just got hit, so hopefully that goes up. Shiba to me is like a continuation of this idea that like retail is back and buying stuff, but they're just buying the shit they bought last time. They're not like interested in buying. And within the meme space, this is like an interesting question because I'm like, do I buy Bonk? Do I buy Popcat? Do I buy Harry Potter, Obama, Sonic 10, Inu? Right.
Well, it reminds me of your analysis on one of our most recent episodes where you said, no, you don't buy you don't buy those memes. You buy animal memes.
Yeah, and like Mudang listed on Coin today had a sell off. As I told a friend of mine it would. I'm going to probably wake up and trade Mudang tomorrow. I'm going to probably look. I think Mudang if it gives the setup, like I think it's going to be kind of interesting. I think these kind of normie memes, like they seem to have like a lot of mind share, a lot of hodler base. It's like, are these normies going to come in? Like, it's the question is like, do you want like the XRP army? Well, those people buying your esoteric like crypto? Like, are they buying Mog? Are they buying like Giga and Sigma and SPX 69,000, or are they going to buy like the Hippo and like the Chill Guy? Like, I think these are like interesting.
I think Chill Guy. I think Chill Guy is going to take over like memeology
and
in its entirety.
I've been accumulating the fuck out of Chill Guy. Like, I've just been like twapping Chill Guy below the monthly open like all month because it's gonna come to Coinbase. Coinbase is like, I think they've tipped their hat on Chill Guy. I think they've tipped their hat on Peanut. I think Peanut the Squirrel is going to be like a pretty easy 2x for me. I don't know how greedy I'm going to get.
How about Virtual?
Yeah, well, Virtual, like my core thesis for Virtual initially was like, yo, this is like the best app on Base. Like, obviously Coinbase is going to list it. And obviously that listing moment is going to be like an instant 20, 30%, maybe 50% God candle, depending on the market cap at the time. And something like Aerodrome, which like all these things are like these core Base apps. They're like not on Coinbase yet. And like we talked about Aerodrome weeks ago. It's probably up like 80% now. So it's not quite the same value, but like these are obvious plays. And it's like, do you want to trade these like obvious plays, or are we still locked in on like Solana? Like, ooh, Solana, like you just want to, I'm not saying Solana is going to be a bad trade, but even within the realm of Solana, I'm like, do I want to own Solana or do I want to just own Bonk? Like, why do I own Solana instead of Bonk?
It's just so gnarly. Like
Bonk doesn't have inflation. Bonk doesn't have massive unlocks coming in 3 months. The whole fucking chain is just it only exists to trade memes anyway. Why not just own like the biggest meme on the chain? Why not cut to the chase?
To do memes.
Why not just like own Bonk and then like go in the trenches on like the shittiest memes possible, and then that's your Solana portfolio? Because like, has it like, what do you really want to invest in like Solana infrastructure? Is that really the play? Like, I don't know. That seems like so esoteric to me. So
this whole shit seems esoteric to me, to be honest.
Yeah, that's a lot of the shit I'm thinking about. I'm long DOT. I'm long XRP still. I long the fuck out of Nano today because Tom Nam told me about it in the Discord, and I was like, the chart's good, and it just like instantly went up 28%, which is awesome. And I don't know what anything's doing now. Bitcoin, I was told, just hit 104K. So I think we're just going to teleport to 120. 120 before Christmas is going to be such a danger zone for me. And that could be like such a shitty scenario for alts because like you could just like nuke at that point and then the alts don't go full alt season and then everybody's over levered and gets wiped. Like that's kind of the thing I'm most worried about. I really wanted Bitcoin to chill sub 100K here for a bit. Like fortunately I owned a decent chunk of Bitcoin.
But like what... Like if Bitcoin goes to 120, sorry. If Bitcoin goes to 120 and like ETH is languishing at 3,900, like, do you follow Ben Cowan's idea that like there will be sort of like a catch-up trade at some point, or like I'm asking for sort of myself because I am like an ETH guy, but like. Does ETH catch up here, or what do you think?
Yeah, it's going to catch up. ETH BTC is just so beaten down. Like, ETH's going to catch a bid. ETH probably outperforms Bitcoin for, like, a while. The question is, like, is it going to have, like, a brief window, and then the whole market gets smacked down, and then we start over again? Like, probably. Like, I know it's become kind of cliche to say you're going to, like, sell the inauguration at this point, but, like,
what do you think about?
I still probably think that's like a good trade.
What do you think about like 0.08 ETH BTC? Ridiculous?
Yeah, it's like possible, but I don't.
Not high probability.
I don't know. I just think the catalysts for Bitcoin are like really good, and the catalysts for ETH are a little more diffuse and scattered like farther off into the future actually than Bitcoin's, and it has more competition, not just from like outside ecosystems, but even for capital like within its own ecosystem. Like one of the great things about Bitcoin from an investment perspective is that because the platform itself is so dumb and the fact that it doesn't do anything, there's like just nothing else to buy other than Bitcoin. Whereas like ETH, you're like, well, do I buy L2s? Do I buy Athena? Do I buy Uniswap? Do I buy Lido? Do I build, so it's hard. It's hard for it to like stay ahead of all that,
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. Anyway, I have to pee super badly, so I think we should probably wrap it there since we're 2.5 hours in anyway. Sorry to everybody whose question I didn't get to. Sorry to my agenda, which I only made it through half of.
Irresponsibly long is back.
It's not back. But that was a fun episode. It was good shooting the shit with you, buddy. Hope you guys in the chat got something out of that. I know there was a lot of high level discussion. There's some alpha in there. We got a little heady at times, but hopefully it was still interesting to you guys. Once again, if you're not in the Discord, check us out at alfalfapod.com. Get in on those juicy early memes. Check out my lines. Talk about tinfoil shit with Marty. The whole 9 yards. We're having a good time in there. It's a bull market, baby. We'll be back next week, I think. Yes.
Will
everybody be there?
You and I will be.
Well, you and I will be here.
And Nick will be.
There will be a show.
Yeah.
Maybe without the beard. Maybe a little more macro politics next time for Mr. Urbani. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll catch you next time. Have a good night.
See you.
Oh, I got to get up and pause the episode. Whoop.
Yeah, Steven has to hit end.